This kid was kidnapped when he was little. He was locked in a warehouse for over a decade. But it was tough luck for the kidnapper, because the kid was a genius, with two completely opposite personalities. The first personality had clairvoyant eyes, with the ability to analyze everything. The second personality was a bloodthirsty monster, with a primal instinct to kill. The result was that every year a member of the kidnapper's family would end up 6 feet under. For unknown reasons, by the time he was the only one left, he was quickly hauled off by the cops. After 12 years of living in darkness, Ewan was finally rescued by the police. At the hospital, doctors were examining him. Severe malnutrition, multiple traumas, and serious infections. But no one noticed that in his eyes, whenever he looked at something, extremely detailed analytical data would automatically appear in his vision. His gaze quietly scanned the information chart at the foot of the bed. Male. Patient Kim Nam-sun, age 57. Diagnosis femur fracture. As he glanced at the man's physique, an invisible analysis engine booted up in his eyes. Estimated height 167 centimeters. Estimated weight approx 60 kg. Left-handed. Calloused hands. Signs of chronic dehydration and manual labor. No ring indentation on finger. Conclusion: unmarried. All the separate pieces merged into a complete picture. In his mind, he reconstructed the entire accident. Fell from a roof while working. The brain registered the fall, instinctively controlled. The left leg to land first. The femur couldn't withstand the impact, fractured and pierced the skin. With a skill so OP, it was like a new player bonus. It was as if he was right there at the scene. Just then, Ewan's train of thought was suddenly cut short. He glanced to the side. The female doctor had returned carrying a tray of hot food. His brain began the data scan process again. Crow's feet at the corners of her eyes, tense and raised cheek muscles, symmetrically upturned corners of the mouth. Conclusion: a genuine smile. Supportive, not a threat. This realization made his body relax. The female doctor placed the spoon in Ewan's hand and said gently, "It's okay. You can eat comfortably now. No one will judge you." When the cold metal spoon touched his hand, Ewan finally shifted his focus from the doctor's face. His eyes were glued to the tray of hot, steaming food before him. A dry swallow echoed in his throat. "The hospital food might not be very good," the doctor said cheerfully, "but please eat as much as you can." Her words were like flipping a switch. The boy who had been silent until now suddenly became a different person. He plunged the spoon into the bowl of rice, scooped up a large bite, and brought it to his mouth with a wild urgency. One hand used the spoon, the other grabbed food directly. He stuffed everything into his mouth, as if afraid the meal would disappear. The female doctor stood frozen, the smile on her lips frozen in place. It was replaced by astonishment and a hint of pity. Finally, in the opposite hospital bed, another patient was also stunned by the scene. Ewan buried his face in the food tray, one hand scooping rice, the other slurping soup. The speed of his devouring was as if he feared that a moment's delay would make the meal vanish into thin air. He ate so fast he started choking and coughing violently. "Hey, slow down, son." The female doctor, alarmed, jumped up and tried to intervene. "You'll get indigestion eating like that." But then she suddenly fell silent, realizing how meaningless her advice was at that moment. Her eyes were still filled with worry and sorrow. Ewan quickly put down the spoon. All the food had been completely cleared, in the blink of an eye. He even carefully picked up the last grain of rice left in the bowl and slowly put it in his mouth. Witnessing it all, the female doctor could only cover her mouth with her hand, her voice trembling with emotion and pain. "Oh my God, what kind of life did you have to live?" There was no answer. Only the ringing of the phone in her pocket broke the heavy silence. She turned away to answer. "Hello." The person on the other end delivered good news. "Doctor, patient Jin Yuan's family has arrived." "Really?" Her eyes lit up. "I'll be right there." She turned back, her face beaming as she told Ewan the news. "Hey, your parents are here." In that moment, Ewan froze. He couldn't hear anything, only saw the shape of the female doctor's mouth moving. But the two words "parents" were like an electric current shooting straight into his mind, awakening long-buried fragments of memory. He unconsciously uttered disjointed words. "Mom, Dad, family?" "That's right." The doctor smiled, clearing the tray. "I'll bring them in right away." With that, she quickly left. Ewan watched her figure disappear behind the door, then looked up at the wall clock. The time it would take for his parents to get here. He began to silently count. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute and 10 seconds. The numbers danced in his retina. 1 minute, 20 seconds, 21 seconds. Just then, right now. 1 minute, 22 seconds. "I will show you." A strange, inhuman voice suddenly echoed in Ewan's mind. At the same time, an invisible force struck him, making him freeze. Before his eyes, countless complex ancient characters appeared, floating in mid-air. Tick. Tock. The second hand of the clock began to move, but the sound it made was no longer normal. The ticking became abnormally loud, like a sledgehammer continuously pounding his eardrums. The world around him began to distort. He could see blurry figures moving behind the wall of the hospital, and they were heading straight for his room. 1. The sound of someone's heels striking the floor outside suddenly became a terrible tremor, as if the ground was shaking. Ewan stared blankly at the floor, then his eyes widened in terror, as each subsequent footstep became an earthquake, relentless, deafening, and terrifying. The conversations outside were also amplified 1,000 times, turning into a chaotic mess of sound that ripped through the space. The patient's stability is the top priority. Do not agitate the patient. Yes, doctor, so may I go in? Ewan's eyes were glued to the door. In his ruby-colored eyes, the image of a man and a woman was clearly reflected. It was them, Mom and Dad. Upon seeing their son who had been lost for 12 years, they both broke down in tears. Ewan! They rushed into the room like a whirlwind of emotion. The female doctor hurried after them, trying to stop them. Please wait a moment. The boy might get startled, but it was too late. His parents' arms were already wrapped around his frail body. Choked sobs and belated apologies echoed in his ears. So it's really you, it's our Ewan. Mom is sorry, Ewan. I'm so sorry. To a normal person, those were whispers full of love. But to Ewan right now, they were roars that tore his mind apart. Each syllable was amplified 1 billion times, becoming an unbearable auditory torture. He couldn't breathe. He struggled to break free from their embrace, clutching his head and letting out a heart-wrenching scream. Ah! Ewan, what's wrong? Their worried voices were like another knife, stabbing deeper into the chaos in his head. Ewan's face turned pale, his whole body trembling in extreme pain. Scene change. At an apartment complex in a small apartment. Yeah, I cleaned the house. I know, Mom. A girl about 14 or 15 named Bommy hung up the phone. She stared at the screen for a moment, her heart full of anxiety. He's coming home soon. What if it's super awkward between us? Bommy remembered visiting her brother at the hospital with her mom. Her mom had been very warm, offering him a plate of apples, but Ewan had only replied politely with a distant, "Thank you for the meal." His way of speaking and his behavior felt incredibly strange to her. Her memory of this brother was a complete blank. The girl rewatched the news clip, held captive for 12 years in a desolate place. The anchor's voice echoed from the phone. Bommy thought sadly to herself. That's right, locked in a warehouse for 12 years. If it were me, I'd probably be the same way. A glimmer of hope sparked as she recalled the doctor's words. It doesn't seem to be congenital hearing loss, but rather a psychological barrier. Thank goodness. The doorbell suddenly rang, cutting off Bommy's train of thought and making her jump. Her mother opened the door and entered with a cheerful voice. Bommy, I've brought your brother home. Bommy quickly ran to the door. Her father entered, carrying luggage, then turned and called out, Ewan, come on in. The door opened, and Ewan shyly stepped inside, responding with a soft yes, like a faint breeze. Before him was a completely unfamiliar space, and an equally unfamiliar girl standing there. It was Bommy. Though her cheeks were flushed with shyness, she gathered the courage to speak. In a tiny voice, brother, you're home. Welcome home. But Ewan didn't reply. His eyes scanned the entire house, curious and wary, completely ignoring the girl's presence. An awkward and heavy silence fell between them. The air seemed to thicken, leaving Bommy to just stare awkwardly at her feet. Meanwhile, Ewan continued his silent survey. On a small table, a picture frame caught his attention. It was a photo of a chubby baby girl a few months old, and next to it was a picture of the same girl, older Bommy. Just then, their father walked over and put a friendly arm around Ewan's shoulder. It's been a long time since you've been home, so it must feel strange right when, he said in a warm voice. That's your room over there. Do you remember it? Ewan hesitated for a moment before replying yes. Why don't you go check out your room and get to know Bommy? The father suddenly suggested. Huh, me? Bommy yelped, her eyes wide. The mother also gently approached and placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder, smiling encouragingly. That's right. Take your brother to see his room. You two should get to know each other. No way, Mom, Bommy quickly refused. I'll help you prepare dinner. Helping your brother get comfortable is helping me, the mother coaxed as she gently pushed her daughter along. Come on now, my Bommy. Despite the girl's worried cries, Mom, wait. They were both herded into the same room. The door closed, leaving the two kids in a silent space, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The awkward atmosphere was like a thin layer of ice covering them. Bommy stole a glance at Ewan, thinking to herself, oh man, this is even more awkward than I imagined. Meanwhile, Ewan paid no attention to her awkwardness. He was busy scanning the room. His brain began to scan and label everything systematically. Bed, window, desk, computer, swivel chair. Finally, a thought formed in his mind. This is my room. After a fierce internal struggle, Bommy took a deep breath and whispered, brother? Instantly, Ewan turned his clear eyes looking straight at her, waiting. His handsome face and direct gaze made Bommy's heart skip a beat. She almost blurted out in her head, OMG, how is he even more handsome than at the hospital? As if grabbing a lifeline, Bomi's eyes landed on the phone on the desk. Let me teach you how to use a phone, she offered eagerly. They both sat on the edge of the bed. Bomi scooted a little closer, her voice filled with enthusiasm. This is the power-off state. If you press and hold this button, it will turn on. Her slender finger swiped across the screen. I've already saved the numbers. This is Mom's, this is Dad's, and this is mine. Now. Ewan watched intently, his eyes fixed on the screen, absorbing everything quickly. Now, Bomi said. I'll delete my number and you can try saving it yourself, okay? Yes, I understand, Ewan replied reflexively. The overly polite and distant answer made the warming atmosphere instantly freeze over again. Bomi blinked, confused. What did he just say? Yes, I understand. Why is he being so formal? The girl quickly explained. You don't have to talk so formally with me. I'm your little sister. Ewan obediently corrected himself immediately. I know. Bomi frowned slightly. A feeling of both sympathy and worry welled up inside her, but she didn't know what to do. She decided to go back to the original topic to break the silence. Here, I turned it off. Now you turn it back on. Ewan carefully followed her instructions. The screen lit up with a soft blue color. The image shimmered in his curious eyes. Okay, go to new contact. I'll read out the number for you. Okay? Bomi began to read, and the clicking sounds from the keypad followed almost simultaneously. His typing speed was astonishingly fast, making the girl's eyes widen. Is this really his first time using a phone? He's even faster than me. When Ewan pressed the save button, he handed the phone back to Bomi, a rare hint of anxiety in his voice. Did I do it right? Should I try again? No need. Bomi praised him sincerely, marveling to herself. He's so smart. Her enthusiasm returned. She continued her instructions. This time I'll teach you how to search online. Search, Ewan repeated, his eyes shining with curiosity. That's right, you can type anything you're curious about in here, then press this magnifying glass icon. Ewan's eyes widened, staring intently at the tiny icon on the screen. You try, Bomi said, handing him the phone. Ewan nodded, his face full of excitement. He carefully typed each letter, Family. The search results appeared almost instantly. Dictionary definition. Family. A group of people related by blood or marriage, living together. He swiped to the Images tab. Pictures of married couples, parents and children appeared. Ewan murmured to himself, Mom, Dad. And then, in the reflection of his eyes, the image of Bomi, sitting next to him, suddenly appeared. An invisible connection was established. He unconsciously uttered, his voice no longer fragmented sounds, but a complete sentence. Bomi is my sister, family. Bomi froze. Her tea-colored eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Then a radiant smile broke out on her face as she happily repeated, That's right, family. In the midst of that warm moment, a sweet and pure scent wafted into the air. Ewan looked up in surprise. His keen sense of smell immediately began to analyze the fragrance. Perfume. Instantly, Ewan's brain began retrieving data from a massive archive. Name, perfume. Origin appeared approximately 5,000 years ago. Initial purpose, used in religious ceremonies, by burning aromatic herbs to communicate with deities. Modern structure. A mixture of aromatic compounds, solvents and fixatives used to create a scent for the body, build a personal image, or attract others. As soon as the front door creaked open, a delicate, captivating scent suddenly hit Ewan's nose, making him freeze and unconsciously exclaim, So fragrant, is that perfume? Bomi, his sister standing beside him, asked blankly, Huh? What did you say? But Ewan no longer seemed to hear her. He was completely captivated by the sweet, inviting scent. He unconsciously started walking, led by it like a sleepwalker. Bomi quickly called after him, Brother, where are you going? Ewan just kept walking, leaving his sister's calls behind him. Then he stopped short in front of the kitchen door. The expression on his face changed from curiosity to extreme delight to utter bliss. It turned out the killer scent, that top-tier fragrance he was smelling, wasn't coming from some expensive perfume bottle, but from the lavish spread on the kitchen table. This smell is amazing, he thought to himself. A magnificent feast was laid out before his eyes, full of colors and flavors. He stared at the dishes, his mind reeling, with one question. It's not perfume. It's all the smell of food. Yes. Just then, his mother brought out a plate of hot food, a gentle smile on her lips. My Ewan, you came out just in time. You must be hungry, right? Sit down, son. He swallowed, his eyes shining with excitement. He whispered, yes. His father brought out a steaming pot of soup, proudly, showing it off. Dad's kimchi stew is a masterpiece. After eating this, you might forget your way home. The family of four gathered around the dining table, a happy scene that seemed like something out of a dream. Eat up, son. His parents kept putting food into Ewan's bowl. Try this first, and this one too. His mother carefully wrapped a piece of meat in a lettuce leaf and gently fed it to him. Ewan chewed greedily, his eyes wide with amazement at the explosion of flavor in his mouth. This delicious taste was truly foreign, truly overwhelming. His adorable reaction made his parents burst out laughing. The meal proceeded with lively conversation and crisp laughter, as if the 12 years of separation had never existed. Scene change elsewhere. The atmosphere was the complete opposite. In an interrogation room, it was cold. A sharp voice rang out. Your family members died one by one over 5 years. You have nothing to say about this. Bloody crime scene photos were placed on the table. First your wife, then your mother, your sister-in-law died of poisoning. Even your 2 close neighbors were no exception. They all died under mysterious circumstances. The man who had imprisoned Win for 12 years was sitting there, vehemently denying his guilt. I told you it wasn't me. After the string of deaths around you, the detective angrily slammed the table. You did it, didn't you? It really wasn't me. If you keep being this stubborn. The detective's voice turned grim. The man suddenly looked up, his eyes wild. Detective, maybe that bastard killed them. That bastard. The question was like a spark to a powder keg. The man shot up, slamming both hands on the table. His eyes bulged as he screamed frantically. The bastard I fed that I raised? He's the one who killed them all. You bastard! The detective stood up in fury. What right do you have to shout in here? Police officers rushed in. Hey, sit down! But the man had lost control, continuing to scream and curse Ewan. You people have no idea what kind of monster that bastard is. An image flashed through his mind, Ewan's lonely back, sitting in the gloomy darkness of the warehouse. He was flipping through a book, the pages detailing human anatomy. The boy's silhouette seemed to merge with the endless night, cold and terrifying. The man's outraged screams echoed throughout the interrogation room. That bastard did it all. Night fell. In his cozy bedroom, Ewan was staring intently at his phone. He remembered his sister's words, brother. This is what everyone watches these days. He tapped the YouTube icon. Instantly, a vibrant, colorful world appeared, making his eyes widen in surprise. He selected a random video. Hello, my lovely family, I'm BJ LOL. A cheerful young man said in the video. Ewan looked at the screen, hesitantly repeating, hello, everyone. He replayed that part of the video several times, closed his eyes, and tried to mimic the intonation. Hello, everyone. Hello, family. He remembered the happy faces of his parents and sister during dinner and quietly repeated it to himself. Suddenly, a mukbang video appeared below. His eyes were glued to the image of tteokbokki with rich, creamy cheese. Tteokbokki mukbang. He unconsciously uttered the word. In the video, 2 young women were exclaiming, whoa, this is so good. Look at this, everyone. It's so chewy and amazing. Seeing the long, glistening strands of cheese, Ewan's eyes immediately lit up. His mouth started to water. He mumbled along with them, mind-blowing. Knock, knock, knock. A knock on the door was followed by Bomi's voice. Brother, what are you doing? Can I come in? Startled, Ewan got up and opened the door. You called me. Do you need help with something cleaning? What should I do? He asked in a single breath. A reflex, conditioned from years of servitude. Bomi frantically waved her hands. No, you don't have to do any of that. She smiled shyly. It's not that. I just wanted to ask if you want to get some ice cream. Ice cream, Ewan asked curiously, his eyes wide. Bomi described it excitedly. Yeah, it's cold and delicious. I bet you've never had it before. With that, she took his hand and pulled him along. Let's go, brother. From the living room, their parents' voices called out with instructions. We can't go with you. Bomi, hold on to your brother's hand tight, okay? Okay, we'll be back soon. Bomi replied cheerfully, her voice bright. Like a shadow, Ewan repeated her words exactly. We'll be back soon. The 2 siblings stepped outside, into the night illuminated by the sparkling streetlights. When they reached the front of the convenience store, Ewan froze once again. He stood rooted to the spot, his eyes wide in astonishment at a miniature world, vibrant and colorful, that he had never known existed. Bomi pulled her brother's hand and they entered. Welcome. The sound of the door chime and the clerk's voice rang out simultaneously. Inside, Ewan almost held his breath. A maze of food and drinks were neatly arranged on towering shelves. Everything was new and strangely appealing. Brother, over here! Bomi's voice called him from the freezer section. She opened the glass freezer door and a cloud of cold air wafted out. Pick any flavor you like. For the umpteenth time that day, Ewan was once again in a state of shock. Hundreds of ice cream bars with all sorts of colorful packaging assaulted his eyes. He could only stare, completely paralyzed by the sheer number of choices. Seeing her brother just standing there dumbfounded, Bomi spoke up. Do you need my help? Finally, after some hesitation, Bomi decisively chose a chocolate ice cream bar and handed it to her brother. This one is really good, she declared. Meanwhile, she herself grabbed a whole armful of other ice creams. Seeing Ewan still staring at the ice cream bar in his hand like a foreign object, Bomi briefly thought, should I let him pay for it himself? Now what if he gets embarrassed? Give me your ice cream bar, she said and walked to the checkout counter. I'd like to pay for these, please. Thank you. The employee smiled. Have a nice day. Bomi replied politely and pulled Ewan outside. As soon as they stepped out, a group of 3 schoolgirls walking by immediately stopped. Their eyes were glued to them. Whispers broke out. Look, he's so handsome. Yeah, Bomi was completely oblivious. She was busy giving Win instructions. Grab this tab that sticks out. Ewan carefully followed her instructions. Here. That's right, now just pull hard. The three schoolgirls standing nearby stared in amazement. OMG, go ask for his number, one of them urged. Don't be shy. But isn't that his girlfriend with him? Another one whispered. Hearing her brother get complimented, Bomi puffed up with pride, unable to hide her wide grin. Here, let me open it for you, the girl said quickly. Thanks, Ewan replied. No need to thank me. I'm your little sister, Bomi said as she skillfully tore open the ice cream wrapper and held it out to Ewan with a proud expression. Here, try it. It's cold and really good. Ewan, who had been craving it carefully, took a small bite. The initial coldness made him shiver slightly, but just a second later, as the sweet chocolate melted in his mouth, his eyes lit up. He suddenly gasped, his shocked expression making Bomi worry. What's wrong, brother? Does it taste weird? Is it too cold? She thought to herself, maybe I should buy him a different one. If you don't like it, you don't have to force yourself to eat it, Bomi said quickly. But Ewan, after a moment of being stunned, blurted out one word, delicious. Then he said it louder as if he had just discovered a fundamental truth. It doesn't taste weird, it's so good it's shocking my taste buds. He uttered in amazement, this is insane. His eyes sparkled like stars. He eagerly licked the ice cream bar, just like a cat, like a puppy who's found its favorite toy. Bomi laughed at his expression. Awesome. Where did you learn that word? Seeing Ewan's somewhat strange, excited demeanor, the schoolgirl standing nearby also stared dumbfounded. Bomi, a little embarrassed, gently reminded him, eat slowly. It's good, isn't it? She laughed at her brother's adorable innocence, then suddenly raised her phone. Appa, let's take a picture. Ewan nodded repeatedly while constantly licking his ice cream. Click. The phone's shutter successfully captured the siblings' first happy moment, together. Let's go, Bomi said. We can walk and eat. The sky had completely darkened. The road home was deserted and quiet. Bomi walked and happily texted her friends, showing off. Her face was lit up by the phone's light. She was engrossed giggling at her friends' teasing, not realizing that Ewan had stopped walking some time ago. He stood silently, his gaze no longer on the ice cream bar, but locked onto a dark corner, up ahead. A man in dark clothes, his face concealed, was standing pressed into the shadows. He wasn't moving, but his slimy gaze was glued to Bomi. That gaze slid from her hair down the nape of her white neck, then lingered disgustingly on the girl's young thighs. He stood there motionless like a hyena stalking its prey. While the man was observing Bomi, Ewan was also analyzing him. His brain worked at lightning speed. Subject unknown male. Behavior clandestine, observation focused on target Bomi. Micro-expressions. The brim of his hat is frayed from touch. Furrowed brow, tense eyelids, slightly dilated pupils. State high predatory concentration. Data cross-reference. No one in the family recognized him. When they came home this morning, inference, not an acquaintance, does not live in this area. Suddenly, the man's gaze shifted sideways and met Ewan's cold stare. He jumped his eyes wide with alarm. Immediately, he ducked his head and quickly ducked into a dark alley. But for Ewan, that one turn of the back revealed everything. His sharp eyes had recorded every detail, like a scanner. A large sweat stain under the armpit of his jacket. 4 deep creases behind the knees of his pants, a sign of squatting or cycling for a long period. The heel of his right shoe had a grease stain characteristic of a bicycle pedal. Everything was as clear as if it were written before his eyes. The danger had just passed, but the radar of caution inside Ewan had been turned up to the highest level. Ewan's eyes scanned the seemingly meaningless traces on the ground. He analyzed carefully. This tire track isn't from a bicycle. It's wider. It must be from a scooter. The mud on the sole of his shoe? Nowhere around here has this type of soil. He looked up towards the distant mountain. A cold conclusion formed in his mind. He came from that direction. From just a few small clues, the brain of Ewan had automatically assembled a complete criminal profile. Age approaching 50. Occupation delivery driver, uses an old scooter. Relationship. Not a family acquaintance. Does not live in the vicinity. Modus operandi planned but not perfect. He has a scooter, but chose to walk across the secluded mountain, a blind spot for security cameras. Characteristic left-handed. After the analysis was complete, Ewan's face darkened. He called out in a low voice, Bomi. Yes. The girl was still blissfully unaware, asking blankly, why are you just standing here? Is something wrong? Ewan didn't answer directly. You go inside first. Huh. Bomi walked closer, following his gaze. Why? Just go inside first. Ewan repeated his tone, leaving no room for argument. But his strange reaction made Bomi worry. She quickly took his arm, her voice firm. No way, if I go in alone, Mom will kill me. Besides, leaving you outside by yourself is dangerous. With that, she determinedly pulled him along. Ewan didn't resist letting his little sister pull him home. A streetlight on the corner suddenly flickered out. A moth had just flown into it, scorched by the heat and fluttered down to the ground. Immediately after the light blazed back to life, cold and unfeeling. Night fell. The ticking of the clock echoed steadily in the small room. Ewan wasn't sleeping. He stood by the window looking out at the thick curtain of rain outside. A ghostly mocking voice echoed in his head. I will protect my family. You shouldn't stick your nose in it. They are my family, Ewan coldly retorted in his mind. Ha ha, family. The other voice scoffed. You're just a weak little boy. Who can't adapt to this world? What can you do? Run and tell the police I am the one who was born to survive. If I'd let a soft-hearted person like you decide, we would have died in that warehouse a long time ago. The image of a tattered Ewan cowering in the darkness returned. But he was unwavering. I can survive on my own. You shouldn't exist. Shouldn't exist. The other voice hissed, turning into an angry growl. Who the hell do you think you are? What makes you better than me, huh, Shin Ewan? On the window pane, Ewan's reflection appeared, but with a maniacal smile and eyes blazing with ferocity. That was his second personality. Ewan calmly faced his own reflection. This is my body. You're just a personality I created for self-defense. Heh heh heh, you're mistaken. The second personality let out a savage laugh. This is my body. Ewan closed his eyes. Worry and fear are its food. Every time I am weak, it will rise up and devour me. But now I can control it. It is a ferocious beast, but if you know how to use it, it can be the sharpest weapon. He gave a cold command in his subconscious. It's your turn today. When Ewan opened his eyes again, it was a completely different person. He slowly rolled his shoulders, cracking his neck. He looked at his reflection in the glass and gave a maniacal smile. Outside in the pitch-black night, the second personality of Ewan gently pushed the doorknob of an apartment. The door was unlocked. He slipped inside, silently melting into the darkness. A moment later, he was back on the street, standing in the pouring rain. He stopped when he saw a figure in black, holding an umbrella, standing on the street corner. It was the suspicious person from earlier. He casually strode towards the man. The stranger immediately lowered the brim of his umbrella, intending to pass by like a stranger. But just as the two were about to pass each other, the second personality suddenly stopped. He held out his palm, catching the cold raindrops. A gift of nature. He spoke, his voice light but sharp as a knife. Even the concealment of man can be called rain. He turned his head, his gaze locked onto the stranger, preparing so meticulously down to every detail, just to wait for a day like today. The man was startled, realizing with horror that the boy was talking to him. Why you? In a flash, the second personality was upon him, his voice full of contempt. Don't be so boring. Who are you? The man asked fearfully, his hand tightening on the umbrella handle. The second personality smirked, a smile that would send chills down one's spine. Who, he said, then coldly stripped away every layer of the other man's disguise. That's hurtful. And here I know you so well. You ate jajangmyeon for lunch. You're a delivery driver. You ride tirelessly through the hills. So who do you think you are? The man was frozen to the spot in the rain, too shocked to speak. The playful mask vanished, replaced by a completely different entity. Ewan's voice was no longer a boy's, but a low, threatening growl. A lowlife daring to lurk around my house. His eyes sharp as a knife locked onto the man's sleeve. Is that cat fur? Did you kill them for practice? Each word was like a poisoned needle, stabbing into the man's mind. Terrified, he stammered out a nonsensical question. Well, what the hell are you? In the heavy rain, Ewan calmly reached up and slicked back his drenched hair. He looked up, a demonic smile playing on his lips. Me. In the blink of an eye, he lunged forward, a powerful elbow strike to the gut. That made the man double over, all the air forced from his lungs. He collapsed into a puddle, the umbrella flying away. The cold streetlight illuminated, his face contorted in pain and fear. Standing tall above him, Ewan slowly continued, his voice echoing in the rain. This is who I am. Rip, an ear-splitting sound of tearing fabric rang out. With his own hands, he had ripped open his shirt, the flimsy fabric on his body, revealing a body covered in raised, jagged scars. A horrifying map of his years in hell. The man's eyes rolled back in their sockets, trembling as if near death. Ewan slowly knelt on one knee, facing the cowering man on the ground. He whispered, his voice like a hissing snake. Don't let me see your face again. If there's a next time this entire masterpiece, he ran a hand over his own scars. I will personally recreate it on your body. The man, having lost all reason from fear, scrambled backward in the mud. Ewan stood up straight, looking down on the miserable creature with contempt. If you understand, then stop crawling around like a worm. His voice hardened. Get lost. As if granted a pardon, the man hastily scrambled to his feet and ran for his life, disappearing into the night. Only Ewan was left standing alone in the downpour. His torn shirt fluttered. He walked to a lamppost and tilted his face to the sky, closing his eyes and letting the raindrops wash over his face. A satisfied, eerie smile appeared. The rain, he mumbled. It sounds wonderful. The next morning, that terrifying entity had vanished, leaving behind a naive and curious Ewan. On his first day back, the whole family went to a fancy restaurant and enjoyed a lavish barbecue feast. On the second day, his mother took his arm for a walk, happily pointing out a street food stall. The hot dogs here have been famous for 15 years, son. On the third day, the siblings went to the movies together. Ewan was completely won over by the popcorn. He praised it while stuffing his face. The combination of popcorn and caramel is truly perfect. On the fourth day in his own room, Ewan sat down at his desk. He opened a college entrance exam question book. Complex text flew past his retina, like a stream of data. Immediately after, he picked up his pen and without hesitation circled the answers. The pen in his hand moved continuously, decisive and astonishingly fast. Bomi sat on the bed, chin in hand, staring at her brother in stunned silence. In the blink of an eye, he had finished an entire page of problems. "Appa," the girl couldn't help but remind him, "you should read the questions carefully before answering, not just guess randomly like that." "But I did read them," Ewan clarified. Bomi laughed. "Where did you learn to talk like that?" "I probably shouldn't show you any more YouTube." She flipped back the page Ewan had just done thinking. He probably just guessed them all. "But I should teach him how to grade it." "Let's try grading it," she suggested. Okay, Ewan agreed immediately. Bomi began checking the answers. "Number 1 is A, number 2 is D, number 3 is B." She mumbled, and then her eyes gradually widened. "They're all right. No way." She turned to look at Ewan, her voice full of astonishment. "Oppa, did you really read and solve all of these?" "Mm-hmm," Ewan nodded. "Did I do a good job?" Bomi quickly pulled out 2 more workbooks. "Oppa, do you want to try some more?" "Okay." And so Ewan became a problem-solving machine. The sound of his pen gliding across paper filled the air. And in just a moment, he had finished everything. Bomi snatched the book from his hand and checked it again. "Oh my God," she exclaimed. "Oppa, you're like a genius." However, Ewan shook his head. "I'm not a genius. I just want to be a normal person." "Normal?" Bomi wondered. Ewan's eyes gazed into the distance. "Yeah, a normal person. It might be very difficult, but I still want to." His gaze fell on a childhood photo of Bomi, but in Bomi's eyes, at this moment only his reflection could be seen. "At your age," Ewan said calmly. "No, even when I was younger than you," memories flooded back like a torrent. Painful fragments surfaced in his mind. The curses, "you bastard," the stinging slaps, the days of laboring like an animal, and the bone-chilling cold of the dark warehouse. And when Ewan finished his story, he turned to look at Bomi and was suddenly choked up. The girl's eyes were welling up with tears, her voice choked. "Oppa, you've been through so much, haven't you?" For Ewan, who had been imprisoned for 12 years, emotion was a foreign concept. He could only analyze it based on textbook knowledge. His brain began to scan data, eyes slightly downcast, brow muscles angled up, eyelids relaxed, corners of the mouth turned down. Diagnosis: sadness. The conclusion was reached. Ewan immediately reached out and patted Bomi's head. The unexpected action startled the girl. He comforted her gently as if reciting a formula. "Bomi, don't be sad." Then he abruptly turned back to his desk, searching for a pad of paper. He quickly scribbled something down. "What are you doing?" Bomi asked curiously. Ewan didn't answer, just held the paper out to her. When Bomi looked at the words on it, her expression changed from worried to utterly astonished. For the paper read to Bomi, "Please don't be sad." Below are the negative effects of sadness. On the body. 1. When body temperature drops, the immune system can be weakened. 2. Prolonged sadness can negatively affect the sense of taste. 3. Stress from sadness can lead to unwanted weight gain. Therefore, be happy. On a piece of paper, Ewan's neat, coherent writing appeared, like an excerpt from a medical textbook. Cardiovascular pathology can directly impact the hormone, cortisol increasing, stress levels and disrupting the sleep cycle. A prolonged state of sadness will activate the hippocampus, causing the brain to consume more energy, leading to chronic fatigue. Furthermore, negative emotions decrease serotonin levels, a direct cause of depression and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Bomi frowned, staring at her brother. Amazement was clear in her eyes. "Oppa, how do you know all this complicated stuff?" Ewan just answered nonchalantly, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "I've read a lot of books." "Oh." Bomi was dazed, unable to form her next question, before their mother's voice called from the kitchen. "Kids, time for dinner." Instantly, the scholarly persona in Ewan vanished, replaced by a food-loving child. "Yes," he answered loudly and dashed out like the wind, leaving his sister standing frozen, papers in hand and eyes wide with astonishment. It wasn't until her mother called again that Bomi snapped out of it and hurried after him. That night, Ewan's room was shrouded in darkness. Only the light from his phone screen illuminated his intensely focused face. The sound from a mukbang video played. "Okay, everyone, let's have a taste. It's really good." "It must be really good," Ewan whispered, his eyes glued to the screen. He wasn't just watching, he was studying. He scrolled through a series of titles. High school students Malatang Mukbang, Special Beef Cooking Challenge, Food battle to find the champion. His finger stopped and tapped on the video of the high school girl. Hello, everyone. Today, let's eat malatang together. Ewan observed every small gesture. The way the girl glanced to the side. The way she covered her mouth when she spoke loudly. He replayed the part where she ate her first bite of glass noodles. Her cheeks flushed red. Then she exclaimed, "I ordered the spiciest level." He wasn't just paying attention to the food, but also analyzing how she expressed her emotions, how she interacted with her invisible viewers. He clicked on the girl's profile page and opened another video. This time, he fast-forwarded through the cooking part, stopping precisely at the everyday moments. The scene where she nervously fiddled with her necklace while waiting for the noodles to cook. The scene where, while talking, she took off her hair tie, letting her black hair fall loose. Ewan's eyes reflected the image of her hand touching the hair tie on the table. He opened another video. The girl was eating a large piece of meat. Wow, the meat just melts in your mouth. But Ewan's eyes weren't on the meat. They were glued to her radiant smile. A thought flashed through his mind, someone like me. He wondered, if I watch these things and act like this, will I be considered a normal person? The memory of his conversation with his parents that morning suddenly came back. "Our Ewan, what kind of person do you want to be in the future?" his father had asked. His mother, while peeling an apple, interrupted. "Honey, why are you asking him such stressful questions?" Then she turned to him gently. "Ewan, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. As long as you're healthy and happy, that's all your father and I want." Yes, but Ewan had answered honestly, his voice firm. "I want to be a normal person, a normal office worker." The next day at the city police headquarters, a normal person does normal things. Reporting a crime is a normal action, Ewan thought as he slowly walked in. Inside the violent crimes investigation room, the atmosphere was extremely tense. "It was you, wasn't it?" a detective roared. "I told you it wasn't me," a young man with bleached blonde hair retorted agitatedly. "Sir, the surveillance camera caught everything. You're still going to deny it." "It wasn't me, I don't wear that kind of hat." Just as the argument reached its peak, Ewan walked in. His calm voice cut through the chaos. "Hello, detective." Kim Tae-yoon, the detective, looked up, stunned for a moment, then shot to his feet, exclaiming in surprise, "Huh, you Ewan, is that you Ewan?" He walked over, looking him up and down, unable to hide his joyful smile. "Damn, you got so handsome. I can hardly recognize you now. How have you been?" In that moment, the image of the calm, handsome young man standing before him, superimposed with the image of the skinny, feral child he had rescued all those years ago. A child with messy hair covering his face, covered in mud, his eyes empty and wary. The contrast was truly unimaginable. Detective Tae-yoon opened the car door kindly, reminding him, "Watch your head." As soon as Ewan was settled in his seat, the detective suddenly reached towards him, reacting on instinct. Ewan flinched back, trembling. But Tae-yoon was simply pulling the seatbelt across his body. "It's okay." "It's okay," he reassured in a warm voice. "Relax." He clicked the seatbelt into place, patted Ewan's shoulder, and said firmly, "I'll take responsibility for getting you home safe." Their conversation flowed naturally. "You look much healthier now," Tae-yoon remarked cheerfully. "Yes, thanks to you," Ewan replied. "You can speak normally now, that's great," Tae-yoon said, pleased. Then he turned back and ordered his colleague, "Jun, take this guy to the holding cell." "Right," Jun replied, dragging the blonde young man away, despite his yells. "It wasn't me. I told you I was framed." Ewan's eyes followed them, then he spoke up unexpectedly. "Was that situation standard procedure?" Tae-yoon was confused. "Huh," Ewan explained more clearly. "When criminals are caught, do they always deny it?" Only then did Tae-yoon understand. He laughed heartily. "Ah, yes, that's right. Almost 100% of the time they're caught, the first thing they say is, 'I didn't do it.' It's like they all have the same script. So what brings you here today?" "Came to visit because you missed me." Ewan didn't answer the joke. He silently took out his phone. "I have something I want to show you." "Show me, what is it?" Tae-yoon was curious. "Want something to drink? Should we go out and talk?" "No, that's not necessary." "Please watch this." Ewan declined, then played a video on YouTube. It was the channel of a mukbang girl he had watched the night before. Tae-yoon leaned in to look, but his expression grew more and more confused. "Mukbang, why this? Who is this? Did you open a YouTube channel?" "Hello, everyone." The familiar voice of the girl in the video rang out. "It's not mine," Ewan denied. "It's someone in a situation similar to mine from before." And then Ewan began his analysis, cold and precise like a criminal psychologist. First, look at her eyes. She glances up and to the right. This is a classic sign of fabrication. The brain is trying to construct a non-existent image. At the same time, her fingers go to her mouth. This is an unconscious behavior showing anxiety, an attempt to suppress or retract the lie she is about to tell. The video changed scenes. Ewan continued to dissect. She's biting her lower lip. This is a common reaction when facing pressure. Feeling stressed in front of such a lavish meal is unusual. Of course, she could just be worried the food isn't good, but... And Ewan presented a sharper argument. Look, her eyes glance to the right again. Her mouth says so delicious, but her eyes tell a different story. Words and actions are inconsistent. Next, her posture. Shoulders slumped, body curled in. This is a defensive reaction from the limbic system. When feeling threatened, an unconscious attempt to make oneself smaller, to hide from danger. The girl in the video continued to eat, and Ewan continued to analyze every tiny gesture. This time her eyes look up and to the left. This isn't lying. She's recalling accessing a real memory, but her hand is still unconsciously covering her mouth. This means there's some truth that she is not allowed to say. Even a seemingly meaningless action did not escape Ewan's eye. While waiting for this water to boil, she plays with her necklace, a self-soothing action to reduce stress. Listening to the long analysis, Taeyun was completely bewildered. What are you talking about? Ewan stated with certainty. She is asking for help. He fast-forwarded this video to a part where a strand of the girl's hair fell on the table, curved into the shape of an S. Ewan said. Immediately after, the girl's finger pointed to the hair tie on the table. Oh, Ewan continued S. And finally a noodle fell down, curving into another S. He delivered his final conclusion. These micro-expressions, these unconscious actions, and these seemingly random signals, if you put them together, we have a message that is too perfect to be a coincidence. She is being held captive just like I was. Taeyun hesitated. But to say she's being held captive is a bit... Look, Ewan added. The signal is being sent more and more clearly. First a strand of hair, very hard to notice. Next the hair tie, and finally the noodle. The victim is slowly gaining courage. Ewan, what on earth are you talking about? Taeyun was stunned. Ignoring his reaction, Ewan continued to make his deductions, as if he had seen it with his own eyes. The victim is in her 20s, probably has no family, or grew up in difficult circumstances. There isn't just one perpetrator but a group, ages from teens to early 20s. The ringleader. I'd guess around 20 and a high school dropout. I really don't understand. This person is being held captive. Do you know her? No, I don't know her, Ewan answered frankly. But I was held captive for a long time. I understand the behavior of those in the same situation. He suddenly asked an unrelated question. Detective, do you believe that if coincidences repeat enough, they become the truth? Taeyun listened intently, not understanding what Ewan was getting at. Seeing he didn't answer, Ewan continued. The suit you're wearing, your mother bought it for you, didn't she? However, Taeyun was still bewildered. The clothes I'm wearing, Ewan continued. My mother bought mine too. What? Taeyun blurted out, his face full of shock. How did you know? Suddenly, Ewan turned his head toward the holding cell. His voice was monotone but carried weight. There was just one coincidence. The suspect likely plays the violin as a hobby. Not professionally, but he's quite serious about it. Yes, Detective Kim Taeyun said, placing a hand on his forehead and muttering. That bastard plays an instrument. Ah, yes, Ewan confirmed. And if I'm right, that will be the second coincidence. Taeyun laughed, trying to brush off his surprise with a joke. Haha, hey Ewan, are you trying to be a criminal profiler or something? No. Ewan shook his head, his face completely serious. No. I want to be a normal office worker. I came here to report a case, and I'm trying to convince you by proving my abilities. Detective? Then he made a surprising offer. Could you go in and ask the suspect about his hobbies? If I'm wrong, you can charge me with obstruction of justice. That firm statement made Taeyun, who was about to wave it off, flinch. Obstruction of justice? What are you talking about? No need for that. We know each other. Let me ask for you. He clapped Ewan's shoulder. Wait here a minute. Ewan stood still, his deep eyes following the detective's back. As the cell door opened, Taeyun muttered to himself as he walked. What the hell am I doing? Just for a kid. But he said he understands because he was also confined. He casually popped his collar, then suddenly froze. Ewan's earlier words echoed in his head. Your mother bought it for you, didn't she? How could he know that? Taeyun stopped in front of the cell. Hey, you. What now? The surly blonde young man replied. Do you play the violin? Taeyun asked directly. The young man looked confused. Yes, it's my hobby. A jolt went down Taeyun's spine. His whole body froze in shock. The young man panicked. You guys investigated that far. You haven't searched my house yet, right? Detective, I swear I'm innocent. Despite his pleas, only one question lingered in Taeyun's mind. This kid, Jin Ewan, what kind of ability does he have? A few minutes before Ewan entered, the interrogation was in progress. Every word, every gesture of the blonde man was absorbed by his analytical brain. Who saw me? I wasn't even there. Instantly, Ewan's eyes locked onto the target. A series of keywords automatically danced in his head, assembling into a logical diagram. Head oversized helmet hiding hair mask shaving oil residue. Neck oversized turtleneck hiding calluses. Hand string marks. Possibilities: fisherman, electrician, jeweler, guitarist, violinist, tailor. Combining data, eliminating conflicting possibilities, his brain reached a final conclusion with almost perfect accuracy. Suspect plays the violin as a hobby. When Tae-yoon turned away from the holding area, he was surprised to find Yoo-in gone. "Where did that kid go?" "I don't know," a colleague replied. Tae-yoon then spotted a yellow sticky note on his desk. He picked it up. It was Yoo-in's handwriting. "Two coincidences. Shall we try for a third? A high school girl who does mukbangs is desperate. My phone number." "A high school girl who does mukbangs?" Tae-yoon muttered, stunned. Then he turned and shouted, "John, find me YouTube channels of high school girls doing mukbangs now." The next morning at a bus stop, Yoo-in stood patiently at the back of the line, letting others board first. He recalled his mother's words from last night. "This is my second time riding the bus." When it was his turn, he calmly scanned his card. "I'm a student." The machine's voice beeped. He went to the back of the bus and sat by the window. Memories of a warm dinner with his dad and uncle came back to him. "And you want to be an office worker?" his uncle had asked cheerfully. "Yes," he'd replied while chewing. "A normal office worker. Like at your company, uncle." His dad had laughed loudly. "But that's not a normal company, son." His uncle had laughed along. "I hear you're a brilliant student, Yoo-in. You solve problems in a flash. To me, a company like that is normal." "Can I come visit?" Yoo-in had suddenly suggested. "Of course," his uncle had agreed immediately. "My nephew can come any time." Back to the present. "The day I promised my uncle is today," Yoo-in thought to himself. He glanced at the electronic display. 4 more stops, about 32 minutes total. A while later, he was standing in front of a skyscraper. "Uncle, I'm here." His uncle's voice came through the phone. "You're here. I'm coming right down." Yoo-in looked up at the building, marveling. "So this is Manhwa General Trading Company. It's so tall." He watched the office workers in their smart suits, chatting animatedly as they hurried by. His eyes shone with intense longing, a dream that seemed so simple, but was more distant for him than for anyone else. To live a normal life. A cheerful, booming voice broke the silence. "Our Yoo-in is here." His uncle emerged, a bright smile on his face. "You found your way, huh? Why are you waiting out here? You should have gone right into the lobby." Recognizing his uncle, Yoo-in bowed slightly. His voice was steady and formal. "Hello, uncle. Thank you for making time for me." "Oh, come on, we're family." His uncle waved a hand dismissively and put a friendly arm around Yoo-in's shoulder. "What's the big deal about showing my nephew around? Let's go inside." The heavy glass doors slid open, revealing a breathtaking space. The marble floors gleamed, reflecting the lights from the soaring ceiling. Their footsteps echoed in the vastness. "Impressive, isn't it?" his uncle asked, his voice filled with pride. Yoo-in could only nod, his eyes ceaselessly scanning every detail. "Yes, very impressive. There's a big cafeteria in the basement. We'll go down there later." "This building is the headquarters of Manhwa Trading Group," his uncle said in one proud breath. "We also have other branches all over the country." That's the gist of it. But Yoo-in replied immediately, his voice as flat as if reading a report. "Gwangju Biotech Dong Busan Mipo." His uncle stopped short, his proud expression turning to astonishment. "Wow. Did you research this before coming?" "Yes," Yoo-in nodded. "I believe that to live a normal life, understanding basic information is essential. I've thought that living normally is a very difficult thing." Hearing that answer, his uncle's smile faded slightly, but he quickly regained his cheerfulness and clapped him on the shoulder. "My nephew is so smart. Come on, let's go up." Yoo-in watched in surprise as his uncle scanned a keycard to call the elevator. 5 elevators operating simultaneously. His brain automatically registered. Suddenly, a clear female voice rang out from the side. "Oh, is this boy your son, manager?" A high school girl in a well-fitting uniform was looking at them with curious eyes. "Harem." The uncle was surprised. "Not my son, he's my nephew. I have a little errand for him to run." "Ah, I see," the girl replied with a knowing smile. Meanwhile, Yoo-in just observed her in silence. At the same time, 2 questions rang out in startlingly perfect unison. "Are you in high school?" "No." Harem was the one taken aback. "What?" she exclaimed, pointing to her uniform. "You can't tell by looking at this. This is obviously a high school uniform." Just then, the elevator doors opened, cutting off the conversation. "Elevator's here." The uncle quickly pushed Yoo-in inside. "See you later, Harem. Have a good lunch." The elevator closed and glided smoothly to the 7th floor. "Let's go." Before Yoo-in's eyes was a vast workspace, bustling and full of energy. "Oh, so this is an office." "It's nothing that special," the uncle laughed. A chaotic symphony of work unfolded before him. The clacking of keyboards, the ringing of phones, and a jumble of multilingual sounds clashed together. "Yes, you have to cancel the order before we ship it." Yes, of course, I am very sorry." Yoo-in stood there silently absorbing the storm of information until his uncle called him over. "Yoo-in, come here." He had him sit in his chair. "How is it? Feel like a real office worker yet?" "Not yet," Yoo-in answered honestly. "I will work hard until I become one." Just then an employee rushed over and whispered in the uncle's ear. The man's expression changed. What I told you to prepare for the meeting. Get everyone to the conference room now. He turned to Yuen, his face full of apology. Sorry, Yuen. I was going to have lunch with you, but something urgent came up. Can you find your way down on your own? It's okay. I've already seen a lot. Thank you, Uncle. And Yuen went down to the first floor alone. As the elevator doors opened, he ran into Harem again. We meet again, she said cheerfully. Yuen just looked at her without replying. His brain was running at full speed. Subject analysis Harem. Time 11 a.m. during school hours. Preliminary conclusion, not a normal student. Attitude interacts with adults manager confidently, not intimidated. Tone and expression relaxed. Behavior steps forward to block path actively controls space. Hypothesis. Has a close relationship with a high-level executive of the corporation. While Yuen was analyzing, Harem had stepped in front of him. Did you get what the manager gave you? She asked as if it were a simple greeting. Confident stride blocks opponent's path. Behavior demonstrates power and spatial dominance. Knowing more about this subject will not be detrimental. Analysis complete. Yuen replied coolly, Oh, I got it. See you later. He tried to slip past Harem and leave, being blatantly ignored. The girl shouted angrily, Hey! Yuen stopped and turned back. What is it? Isn't it school time right now? Are you skipping class? Harem questioned. I don't go to school, Yuen answered bluntly. What? Harem was stunned. I said I don't go to school. Yuen repeated, then turned to leave. I'm going. Hey, wait! Harem shouted again, her patience wearing thin. Why do you keep ignoring people like that? Yuen glanced over his shoulder, his voice as cold as ice. I don't like to waste time on things that aren't beneficial. He said, his voice as monotonous as a machine's. And right now, I don't see any benefit to be gained from this conversation. I want you to stop talking to me. The blunt, logical, and emotionless words were like invisible slaps, straight to Harem's face. Her face went from surprise to bright red, with anger and embarrassment. Yuen took in all of these reactions, analyzing and storing. By denying and trivializing another's existence, one stimulates them to try and prove their own value. Yuen thought to himself, then cast his bait. So tell me now, who do you think you are? Just as predicted, Harem immediately scowled. With hands on her hips, she revealed her trump card herself. What if I'm the daughter of this corporation's CEO? The moment he heard that Yuen looked directly at Harem, in his mind a pre-scripted reaction was ready. At times like this, one must express surprise, slightly widen the eyes and mouth. He followed the script perfectly, his face showing clear astonishment. Oh, really? Harem crossed her arms, a triumphant smile on her lips. Changed your opinion of me now, have you? She strode closer, her eyes scanning from his white sneakers to Yuen's simple t-shirt. Meanwhile, Yuen was also silently reading her. He looked at that self-satisfied smile and analyzed every minute detail. She thinks that because she revealed her identity, she has the right to brazenly scrutinize me like a superior, looking at a subordinate, completely unaware of her own rudeness. Excitement is overwhelming her reason. So you don't go to school, Harem said, breaking the silence. No. Harem looked up, an idea suddenly striking her. Perfect, I'm bored, want to hang out with me? Yuen immediately analyzed. Pupils dilated, looking up and to the right. Corners of the eyes, slightly downturned corners of the mouth lift into a smirk. This is an expression of greed. She sees me as a new toy. Good, I can use that very greed to turn her into my puppet. I haven't eaten yet. Want to get something to eat? Harem invited confidently. Yuen knew he had no other choice. Looking at Harem's arrogant posture, Yuen even made a long-term prediction. If she continues to develop in this direction, when she becomes an adult, she has a high probability of becoming someone with personality disorder, antisocial or severe narcissistic. Yeah, I know a great place. Let's go. She walked ahead. Yuen followed. Where? You'll know when we get there. Doesn't even bother to specify the location. This type of person always assumes the whole world must revolve around them. At a fancy restaurant, Harem leaned back in her chair and asked directly, You don't go to school because you want to be an idol. Or is there another reason? Another reason. So what do you want to do? Study, Yuen replied frankly, then asked back. I'm preparing for my high school equivalency exam. What about you? Why aren't you at school right now? Today. Harem's eyes darted away as she hesitated. And I got permission to leave early. It's that time of the month, Yuen silently analyzed. Eye movement up and to the left. High probability of lying. Hand runs through hair. An unconscious action to reduce stress when lying. Oh, he repeated innocently. That time of the month. That time of the month, Harem confirmed. Ah, Yuen continued with the face of a wide-eyed innocent. You're referring to the phenomenon where the uterine lining sheds in response to hormones? Correct. These brutally direct words left Harem stunned. Her face flushed red and she gritted her teeth, almost shouting. What the hell are you talking about? Just then the waiter approached. What would you like to order? Harem glared. Yu-in snatched the menu and ordered for both of them in one go, without even asking her. We'll have the S course, as expected. Yu-in noted coldly in his head. Doesn't give me a choice. Her desire to control others is very strong. After ordering, Harem finally remembered. Oh, what's your name? Jin Yu-in. I'm Lee Harem. She replied, her eyes still glued to her phone. She tossed out a casual compliment. It's an okay name. Silence fell between them. After a while, Harem spoke up. Are you always this quiet? Just then the waiter brought the appetizer. Still annoyed by Yuin's earlier comment, Harem swung her arm in frustration, accidentally hitting the waiter's hand. This is so annoying. Oh my God, she shrieked, startled first, even though she was the one who caused the collision. I'm so sorry, the waitress stammered. Did I startle you? Harem glanced at her silently. It's fine. Yuin watched the waitress leave, wondering. You seem sensitive. It's nothing, Harem said, holding a hair tie in her mouth, as she raised her hands to tie her hair. I told you it's that time of the month. That time of the month. Still a high probability of being a lie. Suddenly, the hair tie slipped from Harem's hand and rolled under the table. She bent down to pick it up. Instantly, a hand shot out to block the side of the table, right next to her head. Harem looked up to see Yuin leaning towards her. What are you doing? Protecting your head from getting hurt. Harem silently blushed. Yuin seized the opportunity to continue the conversation. You must have had something unpleasant happen to you. The words hit a nerve. Harem reacted defensively. Huh! Nothing happened. You think you know me so well? It's just that you look a little tired, that's all. Yuin replied calmly. Harem decisively tied her hair back into a high bun. Her tone was somewhat provocative. Worry about yourself first. You're pale as a ghost. Why don't you try the soup before it gets cold? Yuin calmly accepted the challenge. All right. He took a small spoonful of soup and brought it to his lips. A second later, his eyes widened and his whole body seemed to freeze, his expression one of pure amazement. Seeing that reaction, Harem smirked triumphantly. See, what did I tell you? The soup here is as good as the famous CA restaurant in Busan. The other dishes aren't as good, though. However, it was all a carefully calculated act. The bait has been taken. Yuin thought, a cold satisfaction running through his mind. Now it's time to set the net. He looked up, putting on an innocent face. CA restaurant in Busan, who did you go with? My friend. Do you know the actress Kim Yuna? Harem shared excitedly. Don't know her, Yuin replied curtly, in unconcealed truth. You really don't know the actress Kim Yuna? Harem was almost in disbelief. Never even heard the name. The answer was still a shake of the head, which deflated her excitement like a leaking balloon. Geez, have you been living under a rock? She's super famous. Yuin now silently took another spoonful of soup. His brain had already mapped out the next step. Now activate memory. Recall past experiences to trigger positive emotions. He abruptly changed the subject. You must really like looking at the sea, right? And Harem was immediately drawn into the narrative flow Yuin had created. Oh, yes, especially the fireworks over the Gwangali Bridge, she said dreamily, her eyes gazing into the distance as if reliving the moment. It was like a painting, truly beautiful. At that moment, I felt like I was the main character in a movie. While Harem was engrossed, Yuin's brain was analyzing her coldly. Her brain is being bathed in a chemical cocktail, dopamine, norepinephrine, and other happiness. Hormones are being released as she recalls, a positive memory, to the nervous system. There is no difference between recollection and actual experience. Just as thinking of a lemon makes the mouth water. Right now, even though she is sitting here, her mind is on a yacht watching fireworks. Conclusion, Yuin thought, by guiding the conversation and listening, I have become the catalyst for her feeling of happiness. He continued to prompt her. Were there heart-shaped fireworks too? Yeah. Can you believe it? Harem replied cheerfully. The conversation between them suddenly became strangely natural and intimate, until the waiter brought the main course. Oh, finally some meat, Yuin exclaimed, his eyes lighting up. He speared a large piece of steak, about to put the whole thing in his mouth. Hey, why don't you cut it? Harem asked helplessly, then changed the subject again. Have you ever traveled abroad? Never, Yuin replied, his mouth still full. When the mango sorbet dessert was served, Harem was completely lost in her own story. You should go. Last year I went to an island called Holbox, in Quintana Roo on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, Yuin mumbled while eating correct. Right, Harem exclaimed excitedly, as if she'd found a kindred spirit. She recounted dreamily, at night, the sky is so full of stars it looks just like the Milky Way, and the ocean waves sparkle when they hit the shore. I have to go. Yuin suddenly stood up, cutting off Harem's beautiful stream of memories. To study? Harem asked, bewildered. So suddenly? Then she smirked, her voice a little sarcastic. Don't tell me. You have a part-time job at a car wash or something. But Yuin wasn't provoked. He just calmly corrected her and started to walk away. I already told you. High school equivalency exam. That answer made Harem jump to her feet. Hey, wait! But when Yuen stopped and looked at her, she spoke quickly, her voice a little flustered. You can't just leave like that. At least give me your phone number. She tried to find a reasonable excuse. Because you've never been to Holbox, I can help you. I know which hotels are the best, which restaurants are the tastiest. Don't waste time on bad places. And Yuen looked at Harem silently as if considering. In reality, he was analyzing her. She doesn't need me. She's addicted to the feeling of euphoria, created by happiness hormones. And I am the one who can provide that feeling. She shows signs of attachment issues, high probability of a weak family relationship. If I exploit these weaknesses, I can make everything she has ever seen, ever known my own. After a slight hesitation, Yuen handed his phone directly to Harem. Here, you don't have a password, she asked, surprised as she saved his number. When she was done, Yuen took his phone back. Thanks for the meal. Yeah, Harem replied, quietly watching his retreating back. She scratched her head in frustration, then suddenly ran after him. Hey, where do you live? But Yuen didn't answer. His entire attention had been drawn elsewhere. His gaze was fixed on the alley ahead. Hey, Harem called out angrily, annoyed at being ignored again. She approached him and asked blankly, What's wrong with you? Suddenly, Yuen put his arm out, blocking Harem. She jumped back, startled. His voice was low and urgent. Don't look. Someone's been stabbed in the alley. A single wound to the abdomen. The person in the hat is holding the victim with a knife. What did you say, stabbed? Harem's terrified voice rang out, loud enough to attract the attention of the man in the hat in the alley. He glanced toward them. Seeing he'd been spotted, he panicked, let go of the victim, and quickly fled. Yuen's eyes narrowed, fixed on the figure of the man in the hat running for his life. He didn't care about anything, just charged ahead like a panicked animal. After a slight hesitation, Yuen took off after him. At the same time, his fingers flew dialing 911 on his phone. A thought flashed through his mind, cold and ironic. Live a normal life. A moment later, he abruptly turned back, running towards the man who had just been stabbed, now collapsed on the pavement. Yuen decisively used his whole hand to press firmly on the bleeding wound on his abdomen. Victim, hold on just a little longer, he reassured while holding the wound, as the man was fading. At the same time, he reported the situation to the paramedics over the phone, with a startling calmness. There's been a stabbing. Need police assistance. Location is in front of Restaurant O, and more. He moved one hand to the victim's radial artery. Heart rate increasing. Cerebellar reflex to compensate for blood loss. Severe internal bleeding. He wedged the phone between his shoulder and ear, both hands busy, and immediately asked, Sir, what is your blood type? B positive, the man stammered. The information was immediately relayed. Abdominal stab wound. Severe internal hemorrhaging. Needs an emergency blood transfusion en route. Blood type B. Sorry, could you repeat that? The paramedic on the other end of the line sounded a bit confused. Yuen choked up for a second, then emphasized every word, his voice sharp. He's been stabbed, lost a lot of blood. Needs an immediate transfusion. Blood type B. His hand was stained red with blood, but he didn't flinch, just repeating the request. Please prepare the blood and dispatch an ambulance immediately. Only then did Yuen look up and see Harem. She was standing, he thought helplessly, living a normal life. Her face was pale. He just glanced at her and concluded wearily, It's just too hard. The ambulance and police arrived quickly, securing the scene. Yuen calmly wiped the blood from his hand. Student, a police officer ran over. I need to ask you a few questions. The person you saw. Before he could finish the sentence, Yuen was already able to answer, flawlessly like a pre-programmed tape recorder. Yes, the suspect had short hair, a gray baseball cap, wore a black crew-neck t-shirt, blue jeans, weighed about 80 kilo, was around 180 centimeter tall, and wore sneakers. He spoke so fluently that the officer had to rush, holding up a hand. Hold on. Wait a minute, student. Can you start over from the beginning? You saw all that. As the officer took out his phone to record, Yuen repeated the information again without a single error. At the same time, from across the street, Harem was still standing silently watching him. Okay, thank you. Can I get your phone number? Yes. After speaking, Yuen glanced at Harem. This is probably the first time she's witnessed a scene like this. He remembered her terrified face when the knife was pulled out. He calmly analyzed as he crossed the street. This shocking situation is the perfect environment to influence her psychology. Right now, Harem is like a child learning to stand for the first time. When in shock, people tend to freeze, not knowing what to do, like a child who suddenly collapses. And at that moment, they need support. A word of comfort, like a parent soothing their child. And Yuen stopped in front of Harem. A perfect plan had been laid out. I'll become her parent right now. No one can replace me. He spoke, his voice deep, stable, and trustworthy. You were really surprised, weren't you? It's okay now. And also, he thought to himself, this will make it impossible for her to forget. She will always think of me. Harem replied, bewildered. Yuen gently patted her shoulder. Luckily, the victim Doesn't seem to be too badly injured. You don't need to worry. He used the exact tone of a gentle mother, reassuring her child. The culprit didn't see our faces, and he'll definitely be caught soon. There are a lot of security cameras around here, and Harem just absently said yeah. That night in her luxurious mansion, Harem stood under the shower letting the warm water run down her body. She slicked her hair back and closed her eyes. The image of Uin bravely rushing forward, calmly giving first aid to the victim, and his gentle, comforting voice kept replaying in her mind. Don't look, don't worry. Unconsciously, a smile, a rare one on the always haughty young lady's face, appeared. Stepping out of the bathroom, she sat down at her vanity. Her gaze fell upon her phone. Come to think of it, she mumbled, I didn't even get his number. In a pitch-dark room, only the faint light from a phone screen illuminated Yuen's face. He was lying on his bed, secretly exploring the world of YouTube. Let's add a little MSG here. The sound from the video made his eyes widen. Is MSG really that magical of a seasoning? Excited exclamations from the host rang out continuously. This is crazy good, everyone. For real. Top tier. Uin muttered the strange slang, trying to mimic their intonation. Freaking good. Freaking interesting. He was engrossed in a video comparing Manhwa beef from 6 different regions, a detailed analysis down to the side dishes. Oh my god, it's melting in my mouth. The voice in the video was full of amazement, and Uin also let out an involuntary, oh! He mumbled to himself, eyes glued to the screen. I'm definitely going to try this someday. Just then a message notification popped up. It was from Harem. Did you get home safe? Uin tapped to read the full message. Did you get home safe? Are you okay? He typed a reply, I'm totally fine for real. Harem quickly replied, What do you mean for real? Uin just replied curtly, I'm going to bed. Good night. Then he immediately returned to the world of food on YouTube. Harem's message came again. It's only 10 o'clock and you're already sleeping. In the end, Uin just glanced at it. His eyes were already drawn to another video with the title, waiting at least an hour to eat the best dumplings in Seoul. He ignored Harem and clicked on the new video. The next morning, during a cozy family meal, Uin politely said, Let's eat. The food was so delicious that he instinctively gave 2 thumbs up head, nodding repeatedly. His mother laughed and teased, My son's giving it 2 thumbs up. Yeah. After breakfast, his dad and Bommy got ready to go out. Before leaving, Bommy didn't forget to say, When I get home from school, I'll come play in your room, okay? Okay. In the quiet room, Uin once again plunged into battle with his studies. His work pace was dizzyingly fast. The pen glided across the paper with a swish. Before long, an entire test booklet was finished. He looked at the phone sitting neatly on his desk. He told himself, always keep the phone nearby. This is a rule of a normal life. Another message notification from Harem popped up. Uin ignored it. Ignoring messages is also part of a normal life, he mumbled, continuing his work. His eyes accidentally glanced out the window, catching sight of a small sparrow perched on a power line. Fearless, Uin smiled. A peaceful, normal life, he silently resolved. Because living normally isn't easy, I have to try even harder. An unknown number called. Hello, Uin answered the phone. Hello, this is Kim Minjin, team leader at Capital 20. I'm calling to consult about preferential loans. Just hearing that Uin's internal alarm was triggered. He shot up, a phone scam. A video he'd watched 3 days ago flashed in his mind, encountering a scam call. Just do this. Uin immediately put his hands on his hips and cleared his throat, trying to put on a serious face and deepening his voice into the phone. I need a loan of about 10 billion won. Is that possible? The other end went silent for a second, then panicked. What 10 billion won? Uin emphasized his point, startling the person so much they hung up abruptly. Yes, Uin smiled satisfied. Good thing I learned how to handle these things. The phone rang again. Another unknown number. Hello? Hello, this is Officer Lee Sang-hun from Precinct 20. Another scam Uin suspected. Are you Shin Uin? The one who reported the knife attack in Y Alley. His suspicion vanished. Yes, that's me. You must have been very shocked. Are you okay? The officer asked. I'm fine. Good. We need you to come to the station to give a witness statement. The perpetrator has been arrested. After the call, Uin put on a jacket and opened the door to leave. But as the door was about to close, he suddenly stopped, leaving it slightly ajar. Then he abruptly pulled the door wide open, looked into the empty house and said loudly and clearly, I'm leaving, I'll be right back. He was silent for a moment. The image of the day he was kidnapped flooded back, and he added in his mind, I won't be late like last time. I'll come home on time every day. Outside, dark clouds gathered, and tiny raindrops began to fall, growing heavier by the moment. At the police station, Uin stood with an officer, observing the suspect through a one-way mirror. Like I said, I couldn't see his face clearly because of the hat. Uin's voice rang out. Just focus on your overall impression, the officer said. What do you think? Does he look like the person from that day? Uin didn't answer. Instead, he asked, what is he saying? The officer turned on the speaker. The suspect's indignant voice came through.
Why would I do that?
I already told you it wasn't me. Ewan watched intently. His gaze was as sharp as a razor, scanning every detail of the suspect's face, every minor gesture. Even the act of raising a hand to scratch his nose did not escape his notice. It was as if through the glass, Ewan was standing face to face, looking directly into the suspect's eyes, analyzing every word, every blink. Why would I harm someone I don't even know? He yelled, trying to act wronged. Why? As the suspect brought his hand to his mouth, covering his lips, the blood on my hand.
Are you kidding me?
I told you I got hurt while cooking. Ewan didn't miss a single detail. His eyes were as cold and sharp as a predator's, locked onto its target. Look at my hands, they're covered in cuts. Is being a bad cook a crime now? The man gritted his teeth and swallowed, trying to appear resentful. The officer quietly turned to look at Ewan, his gaze questioning. What do you think of yes? Ewan was silent for a second, then gave a firm verdict. He's lying. Right, you think it's him? Yes. Inside the interrogation room, the battle of wits continued. I was just taking a walk around the neighborhood. Outside, Ewan was piecing together all the man's nonverbal cues for analysis, constantly touching his nose. When lying, the hormone catecholamine is released, increasing blood pressure around the nose and eyes, causing an itch. Biting his lip, an unconscious action showing the desire to retract. The lie, crossing his legs. When faced with danger, humans have 3 reactions: freeze, flee, or fight. The act of crossing his legs shows he had already chosen to freeze before the real threat appeared, afraid his true nature would be exposed. What's his educational background? Ewan suddenly asked. Huh, what does that have to do with anything? The officer was surprised, but still answered. I heard he has a master's degree. A new line of reasoning immediately formed in Ewan's mind. The higher the level of education, the more one focuses on logic and tangible evidence. If he is the culprit, the thing he fears most is hard evidence or a witness. Have you mentioned a witness yet? Ewan continued. No, not yet. You only saw from a distance, right? Ewan looked at the criminal, arguing his head off, and stated firmly, I think he'll confess if you say there's a witness. He glanced at the officer, finishing his part. I believe this is the culprit. Can I go now?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, goodbye, sir. After speaking, Ewan rubbed his stomach, thinking I'm starving. The officer returned to the interrogation room. He calmly said, Mr. Kim, why? We have a witness who saw your face clearly at the scene. Immediately, the man's face went pale. Stunned, he shouted, a witness! Right after he buried his face in his hands in despair. The officer only needed to ask one more question. Do you admit it? I was really impulsive at that moment. Kim Y broke down, bowing his head and confessing. Outside the police station after the rain, the sky was unusually clear and blue. Ewan looked up at the sky, then turned to look at the police officers, who were happily eating jjajangmyeon. A silly question popped into his head. I wonder what jjajangmyeon at a police station tastes like. Is it any good? He watched them eat so heartily that he swallowed. I'll definitely try it someday. He checked his phone as he strode out of the station. A series of messages from Harem had spammed his screen. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, hey, hey! He typed a message. The culprit has been caught. You can rest easy now. Elsewhere, Harem was sitting with her friends, but her mind was somewhere else. Her friends around her tried to make conversation. Harem, where'd you get your hair done? New bag, it's really pretty. When Ewan's message arrived, she hurriedly opened it. Oh, really? But why are you only texting me now? She texted back, a feeling of annoyance and frustration rising. Ewan's reply made her even more irritated. Get home safe. Harem's face went blank. She couldn't believe it. Is he just now answering my question from earlier? How did you know? She typed, then started a new topic. What are you doing? I'm doing a challenge. A challenge. If you come, my success rate will probably increase. At a small ramen shop. You what? Harem stared in astonishment at the giant bowl of ramen in front of Ewan. The owner explained the rules. Finish it within 20 minutes. If you fail or throw up, you lose and have to pay a 20,000 won penalty. If you lose, you're paying the penalty yourself, Harem said haughtily, crossing her arms. Ewan raised his chopsticks, ready for battle. But in reality, his brain was working at full capacity to calculate a strategy. 4. Can't eat based on feeling. Must pay attention to the hormone leptin. When eating, fat cells secrete leptin, sending satiety signals to the brain. I must complete the challenge before that signal is sent. Tell me when you're ready, the owner said, holding a stopwatch. Ewan took a deep breath, his expression serious, his hands gripping the chopsticks tightly. He shouted, I'm ready. As soon as the owner's stopwatch started, Ewan's chopsticks shot down like 2 arrows, picking up a huge mouthful of golden ramen. He didn't just put the noodles in his mouth. He used a powerful slurp to pull the long strands in, all in the blink of an eye. Harem's jaw dropped. She and the owner stood frozen, staring as the boy neatly finished the noodles and moved on to the thick slice of chashu pork. Ewan opened his mouth wide and took the whole piece in one bite. Harem once again cried out in amazement. After finishing the meat, he returned to the remaining noodles. One last slurp. Immediately after, Uin lifted the entire ramen bowl with both hands. He shot to his feet, tilted the bowl, creating a perfect arc of broth before pouring it all straight into his mouth. His stomach visibly swelled. Thump. He slammed the empty bowl down on the table and reached out to hit the stop button on the stopwatch. The owner, finally snapping out of his shock, stammered, "Success!" Ewan contentedly rubbed his full belly. "Awesome. I won. I have to go show this off to Bomi." Harem looked at the sparkling clean bowl, not a single drop left, and exclaimed in disbelief, Are you trying to be a mukbang YouTuber? That's insane. How could you eat all that?" Ewan leaned back in his chair and denied it. "No, that wouldn't be normal. Are you even human?" Harem was speechless. Eating like that is what he calls normal. After leaving the shop, Ewan bowed politely. "Thank you for the meal, sir." "Thank you, come again." Once outside, Harem asked in amazement, "Hey, you can still drink more?" Ewan replied as if it were obvious. Getting dessert after a meal is the rule, when you're with a woman. That statement left Harem speechless. "Do you know how weird you are?" she asked helplessly, but thought to herself, "But he's also kinda interesting." "Isn't this normal?" Ewan asked back, leaving Harem at a loss for words for the second time. At the coffee shop, Ewan took a sip of his drink and exclaimed, "So sweet." "You really need to stop watching YouTube," Harem advised seriously. "The way you talk." Ewan ignored her, scooping up a piece of cake. "This is crazy good." Harem sighed, too tired to even comment. A short while later, a luxury car pulled up to the curb. A bodyguard got out and opened the door. "You really have to stop watching YouTube," Harem emphasized one last time. Ewan sighed and mumbled, "The way I talk, really. But it really is good. I'll give you a ride home," Harem suddenly offered. "No, it's okay." She didn't insist, getting straight into the car. Through the window, she watched Ewan's retreating figure as he walked alone. How strange, she thought. The corners of her mouth turned up unconsciously, and also really special. That evening in his familiar room, Ewan was glued to YouTube again. "Now, we're going to cook this on medium heat for 5 minutes. Looks so good," he repeated after the person in the video. Suddenly, an unknown number called. A prize notification at this hour. He mumbled and answered the phone. "Hello, is this Shin Ewan?" "Yes, that's right." "Who is this?" He silently guessed a loan scam. "It's me, Taeyun." Hello, Detective Kim Taeyun. Is now a good time to talk?" "Yes, go ahead." So you remember that mukbang YouTube channel you told me about? We investigated it. The victim and the perpetrators are all runaways. The victim's family didn't file a report, because she often runs away like this. So even though she appeared online while being held captive, nobody suspected anything. The criminals took advantage of that very fact. "I see." Ewan listened attentively. "So that's how it was. You saved someone's life." "When?" Taeyun said, "How did you know about all that?" But Ewan didn't answer that question. "Did the victim get home safely?" "Of course, thanks to you, we were able to solve the case." "I'd like to treat you to a meal to thank you. When are you free?" Hearing this, Ewan's expression immediately became serious. Everything is going according to plan, he thought. "Can we have meat instead of a regular meal?" "Of course, you can have whatever you want." That was all he was waiting for, Ewan replied instantly. "Then Hanwoo beef. Grade 1++ marbling score number 9.
Please.
Taeyun on the other end was confused. What you mean bulgogi?" Ewan solemnly, with a reverence reserved for a fine delicacy, repeated. "No, sir. It's grade 1++ Hanwoo beef with a number 9 marble score. The top-tier kind." I've never heard of number 9 before," Taeyun said, scratching his head. "But okay. You did a great thing. We'll have Hanwoo. When can I see you?" Ewan asked immediately. "This Saturday?" Ewan glanced at his calendar. "Yes. I'll keep that day open." On Saturday, Ewan emerged from the subway station. He swallowed. His mind was filled with images of premium beef. The day has finally come. The day I get to taste number 9 Hanwoo beef. I wonder if it's so good. It'll send me to heaven. Just then, a strange man and woman suddenly called out to Ewan. "Excuse me, can we ask you something?" Ewan turned around and replied politely, "Yes." The woman suddenly exclaimed, her eyes full of hidden meaning. "Just looking at you, I can tell you have a lot of good fortune." The young man beside her nodded in agreement. "Good fortune?" Ewan asked, confused. "That's right," the woman continued dramatically. "That's why we couldn't just walk past you. Your energy is very bright. We are people who are studying, and we want to share something good with you." This statement made Ewan curious. There are many types of study, and learning has no limits. He asked casually, "Studying what?" The woman seemed to hesitate. Well, we mainly study the principles of the universe." She hadn't even finished her sentence when Ewan interrupted, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "The principles of the universe? Is it defined in terms of natural science or quantum physics?" This unexpected question stunned both scammers, but the woman quickly regained her composure. She steered the conversation back to her script. "Not like that. Do you know the saying, mountains are just mountains, water is just water? People often don't see the true nature of things. but instead assign meanings to them. Oh. Ewan nodded repeatedly as if he understood completely. Then he started pulling out all the knowledge. He knew to respond. Mountain, a landform, formed by the accumulation of vegetation at a certain elevation above sea level. Water chemically is H2O, a compound of hydrogen. Element number 1 on the periodic table, and oxygen. Element number 8. Then he looked up, his eyes as clear as an innocent child's. Is that right? He asked. Are there any errors in my understanding? The woman was stunned, but still tried to flatter him. Just as expected. Your energy is so brilliant, so your enlightenment is also extraordinary. Seeing his partner flustered, the young man quickly changed the subject. Do you get told you're handsome often? He was sweating, trying to stick to the scam script. Right now your ancestors are resting on your shoulders. You look a lot like them, so tall and handsome. Hearing this, Ewan froze, then started, looking around himself, searching for these so-called spirits. Seeing this, the young man started to threaten him. You don't seem very reverent. Their expressions are a bit... But Ewan wasn't scared at all. He even asked directly, can you two see ghosts? The question was like a punch to the face. The young man's eyes widened, speechless. The woman quickly explained, not ghosts, ancestral spirits. Ancestral spirits. Ewan immediately took out his phone, holding up a diagram of the human eye's structure. So how do you two perceive these non-corporeal entities? Normally parts of the eye, like the macula and the blind spot, process light information into electrical signals. Then the brain recognizes the image via the optic nerve. Or do your corneas have a special structure? The two scammers started to get dizzy as Ewan continued his lecture, like a machine gun, related to the iris, related to the pupil, related to the lens. He still didn't stop bombarding them with questions. Or do you two have a special sensory organ, different from normal people? A type of evolutionary mutation? Or can you see wavelengths of energy outside the visible spectrum, both of you? The young man whispered fearfully into the woman's ear. I think something bad will happen if we take this guy with us. The woman, also pale, quickly said to Ewan, let's meet again later. Something suddenly came up. Ewan paused. He could read her body language. Forced expression. Arms crossed, legs pressed together. This is a defensive posture, a sign of fear. He quickly clarified, I'm not a scary person. No, it's not because you're scary. The young man yelled. We really have an emergency. See you later. With that, both of them took off running, on the verge of tears. In their eyes at that moment, Ewan was like a demon chasing them and hissing. Don't go, I really want to know. Tell me more about the ancestral spirits. In reality, he just stood still, regretfully watching them disappear. Just then a loud laugh rang out. A man holding a phone, who had been filming the whole time, couldn't hold it in anymore, clutching his stomach and howling with laughter. Ha, that's hilarious, got it on camera. He approached Ewan and introduced himself. Hello, I'm Chris, owner of the White Rabbit Review YouTube channel. YouTube, Ewan repeated. That's right, a lot of people fall for this, so I filmed it for evidence. But I've never seen anyone react like you did. He held up his phone. Can I post this video? He asked politely. Oh, Ewan immediately shook his head. No, that wouldn't be normal. Not normal. Chris was surprised. Oh, don't worry, I'll blur your face. No, Ewan said firmly, his voice unwavering. Please delete that video. But Chris, panicking, tried to persuade him. For the public good, this video should be widely circulated. Ewan didn't reply, just quietly turned and walked away. That decisive action made Chris panic and yell, Wait, I'll distort your voice. I guarantee no one will recognize you. Please delete it. Ewan repeated like a soulless machine. Chris played his final card. I'll pay you 500,000 won. Please delete it. 1 million won. Chris shouted in desperation. The moment the number was uttered, Ewan spun back around. On the screen of his phone, his bank account information was already displayed, clear and complete. Chris froze his face, scrunching up as if he'd eaten a hot pepper. He mumbled as he took out his phone to make the transfer. Talk about a 180. Ping, 1,000,000. One was safely in Ewan's account, at a luxurious restaurant. Detective Taeyun's voice rang out, laced with bewilderment. He held the menu with a trembling hand and stammered, What? What did you say you wanted to eat? Grade 1++ Hanwoo beef with a number 9 marble score, Ewan replied calmly. Seeing Taeyun's hand shaking, from the astronomical price of the meat, Ewan sighed softly, a little helplessly. Something else is fine too. Taeyun forced a smile and decisively pressed the call button for the server. No, I promised I'd treat you. If I said Hanwoo, then Hanwoo it is. Yes, okay. Taeyun shakily held up 3 fingers to the server. Give us the 3 servings. After ordering, he breathed a sigh of relief and regained his confident air. Anyway, thank you so much, Ewan. If we had been just a little bit later, the consequences would have been unthinkable. He shuddered as he recalled the sight of the mukbang girl, desperately perched by the window. When we got to the scene, it was completely chaotic. It was really terrifying. Yes, it was very fortunate, Ewan agreed. Looking at Ewan's bright, vibrant face now, a stark contrast to his disheveled, terrified state when he was first rescued, Taeyoon asked cheerfully, I got so caught up I forgot to ask. How have you been lately? Is everything okay? Yes, I'm striving to live a normal life, Ewan answered honestly. That statement surprised Taeyoon a bit. Normal? His train of thought began to drift, piecing together things Ewan had said before. She's asking for help. Did your mother buy you that outfit? He probably plays the violin as a hobby. He guessed to himself, maybe because of the psychological trauma from that incident, this kid started studying criminal psychology. His thoughts were interrupted when the waitress brought a plate of exquisite meat. Here is your beef. Both Taeyoon and Ewan leaned forward in unison, two pairs of eyes, one old and one young, widening in astonishment at the slices of meat with marbling, so perfect it was like a work of art. Ewan's eyes sparkled like Star's saliva nearly drooling. Please try it with salt first, the waitress suggested. Ewan hesitantly picked up a piece of meat, his eyes glued to it. He quickly put it in his mouth and then, an explosion. The sweetness of the meat, the melt-in-your-mouth tenderness of the fat blended together, creating a taste experience beyond all imagination. His jaw dropped so amazed he was speechless. What's wrong, Ewan? Taeyoon asked worriedly. Did you bite your tongue? He also picked up a piece and put it in his mouth. Immediately, his expression became identical to Ewan's. Oh my God, he exclaimed. It's melting in my mouth. Totally worth the money. Seeing Ewan still in a state of ecstasy, Taeyoon had to call out loudly. Ewan, snap out of it. I'm about to eat your share. Ewan immediately snapped back to reality. I'm okay, hurry, let's have another piece. His impatient urging made Taeyoon laugh. The following days for Ewan passed in precious peace. He studied diligently at home. His parents often bought fruit for him and his sister. Gradually, he was even able to tutor Bommy. The relationship between Ewan and Harem also grew closer through their outings and study sessions in the library. And then that day finally came. A chilly autumn air filled the surroundings. Yellow leaves rustled underfoot. In front of the school gate, supportive banners were hung high. The lively sounds of laughter and well wishes echoed. Good luck, seniors. Do your best, everyone. Ewan looked up, then slowly walked towards the school gate. On the largest banner, the words, wishing all test takers success, from Jinseon High School seemed to welcome him, welcoming a new chapter in his journey to find a normal life. At the District 10 University examination site, a bustling and tense atmosphere prevailed. Countless teenagers stood outside, holding up supportive signs. Amidst the hurried crowd, Jin Ewan quietly walked in to find his exam room. He took off his jacket and sat down as the teacher handed out the tests. Ewan took it, placed the paper on the desk, and thought to himself, all right, let's begin. When the exam was over, Ewan walked out of the school gate, his hands covering his face. No, oh no, I've made an irreversible mistake. He looked up despairingly at the other students happily, chatting with their families. He remembered his parents' words. We just want you to be healthy. Living a normal life is the best. He let out a miserable sigh. He imagined his family, welcoming him with bright smiles, and what would he say then? When he got home, the moment the door opened, Bommy ran out. Appa! How did you do? But before Ewan could answer, his funeral-like, utterly dejected face said it all. Bommy was alarmed. Appa, you look miserable. Ewan didn't say a word, walking past his sister and straight inside. Did he not do well? Bommy thought worriedly. No way. I saw him solving problems like it was nothing. She asked hesitantly, Are you okay? Did something bad happen? Ewan lowered his head, his voice sad. I think I overestimated myself. That statement made Bommy's eyes widen. Did he really do badly? Because he was too nervous. She forced a smile and tried to comfort him. It's okay, Oppa. If you didn't do well, you didn't do well. There are still other opportunities. No one will blame you. Yeah, I'm going to take a shower. Bommy stood silently watching her brother enter his room, toss his backpack and jacket on the bed. Ewan glanced at Harem's message. How did the exam go? He just looked at it briefly before placing his phone face down on the desk. I solved so many practice problems, and in the end it was all for nothing. He trudged into the bathroom with a sorrowful expression. Bommy had never seen her brother like this. How should I comfort him? Just then her mom called. Bommy, is your brother home yet? Ask him if he wants to eat anything special, okay? Mom, Bommy whispered into the phone. It seems like he didn't do well. He looks really down. On the other end, Ewan's dad quickly snatched the phone. What? Ewan, Bommy, did your brother say he did poorly? He looks really disappointed. Oh my gosh, it's just an exam. Tell him it's okay. Tell him Dad is coming home soon with delicious food. When the call ended, Ewan had just finished his shower. Appa, are you okay? Bommy asked hurriedly. Did you get a lot of questions wrong? That's normal, Appa. My parents are not normal at all. Ewan suddenly cut her off, hands covering his face. His voice filled with despair as if his whole world had just collapsed. I think I got them all right. I should have gotten a few wrong to be like a normal person. Bommy froze, her brain seeming to shut down. She stammered, You think you got everything right? Yeah, Ewan cried out in frustration. I just did it unconsciously without realizing. I only knew when this test was over. His words were like a lightning strike to Bomi. She tried to stay calm and asked again for confirmation. So that's why you're so sad? Because that's not normal. In contrast to his sister's astonishment, Ewan was still mumbling and analyzing. Maybe it's because I solved too many practice problems. My hand just moved on its own, like how I unconsciously chew food. I solved them without thinking.
It's as natural as breathing.
Now Bomi was trembling with horror. She agitatedly grabbed both of Ewan's hands and yelled, Appa! You absolutely cannot tell this to anyone else. Got it. Ewan touched his chin, pondering.
It's really not normal at all.
Appa? Bomi glared at him, screaming internally. This damned normal life. Then she quickly reassured him, It's okay, Appa. Maybe you got a few questions wrong. That would be great, Ewan still replied sulkily. No, how about, Bomi suggested, trying to pull her brother out of his pit of despair. Let's check the answers. Maybe you only got a few wrong. No, Ewan whined. I'm dead for sure. I remember all the answers I chose. That statement left Bomi dazed again. You remember the question order and the answers?
Of course.
Ewan frowned. I did it myself. How could I not remember? That's not normal at all. Bomi exclaimed helplessly, but then she quickly pulled herself together.
Okay.
Let's just check. I'm sure you got some wrong. Don't worry. Bomi quickly accessed the official website of the Korea Institute of Curriculum and Evaluation. Found it! She shouted. Ewan buried his face in his hands, mumbling, I can't look. Okay, let's start. Question 1-4, Ewan blurted out without thinking.
Oh, that's right,
Bomi exclaimed. Question 2. Should I just read them all in a row? Ewan sulked. Question 2 is 3, question 3 is 1, question 4 is 2, question 5 is 4. Bomi was stunned. He really remembers everything. These are all correct. Before she could process it, Ewan continued, his voice as monotonous as a machine's. Question 19 is 2 and question 20 is 5. He finished reading, but Bomi was dead silent. Ewan peeked through a crack in his fingers. Bomi, are you listening?
Oh yes, I'm listening, she said with a start.
Did I get any wrong? Ewan asked, his voice full of hope. Bomi quickly checked again, then replied blankly,
No, they're all right.
Afraid her brother would break down, she quickly added,
I'm sure you got some wrong in the other subjects.
Let's keep checking. Ewan's soulless voice rang out again, reciting the math answers. In the end, he asked the same old question. But this time, he was screaming internally, Please! Just one wrong answer would be fine. But Bomi was silent again. She turned to Ewan with an incredibly serious expression.
Appa, she said, taking his hand, please don't be too disappointed.
A sentence that made Ewan's entire world crumble. I get it, he mumbled, heartbroken. So they're all right. But this is something to celebrate. Bomi suddenly shook his hand forcefully, shouting with joy, This is something we should be celebrating. No. Ewan frowned, deeply miserable. This isn't normal. Living a normal life is so hard. In contrast to Ewan's gloomy world, Bomi was so excited she kept giving thumbs-ups. Mom and Dad are going to be so surprised when they hear this. Of course they'll be surprised, Ewan said grimly, because I got everything right. He's thinking on a completely different level, Bomi thought with awe. Does this mean I'll never be normal? Ewan moaned despairingly. That was the last straw. Bomi glared at her brother, thinking furiously, I'm about to lose my mind. Just as she was about to lecture her bizarre older brother, her parents' voices came from the doorway. We're home. Instantly, Bomi rushed outside. Mom, Dad, guess what? Appa got a perfect score on the CSAT. What a perfect score. Really? Ewan's mom asked loudly. But you just said he didn't do well. That's not it. We just checked the answers. Ewan walked out dejectedly. You're home. His dad dropped both bags he was holding. His jaw dropped. I wonder who our Ewan takes after. Now it's clear. He rushed over to hug Ewan, saying joyfully, He takes after me? My son takes after me. You did great, my son. He takes after me? His mom chimed in cheerfully. Mom, what about me? Bomi joined in the fun. Ewan's dad's voice echoed through the house. Honey, hurry up and call everyone over. It's my treat tonight. He dialed his phone while bragging enthusiastically. My Ewan got a perfect score. Of course he's smart like me. Ewan sat there, his face sullen, thinking painfully. Dad is telling the whole world that I'm not normal. Follow me, his dad said suddenly. Ewan can become a doctor, a prosecutor, a lawyer or an auditor, an accountant, a tax official. Honey, his mom tapped her husband's shoulder playfully. Why are you putting pressure on him like that? She turned to Ewan and asked gently, Which university do you want to go to? A normal university, Ewan replied. The answer stunned the other three members of the house. Normal. What about your major? Bomi stammered. I haven't decided. Back in his room, Ewan picked up his phone, typing the careers his dad had mentioned, into the search bar. A flood of information appeared. Prosecutor, tax official, architect, doctor? He thought pensively. All these jobs have one thing in common. They operate within a framework, a system of rules and regulations. He continued his research, looking up successful people in those fields. The screen displayed information about a famous prosecutor. Name Hong Jin-myung, date of birth December 1975. Affiliation, Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office. Education, Seoul National University School of Law. Career passed the bar exam in 2000. Ewan stared at the screen. An idea began to form in his mind. So Win scrolled through the profiles of successful people. Dr. Im Jun, graduate of Y University. Accountant Shin Dong-min, graduate of Business Administration at S University. He nodded. A simple logic formed in his head. Most of these people graduated from S University. That means S University is the most normal university. With that thought, he opened his door, stepped out, and solemnly declared to his family, "I've decided. I will go to S University like a normal person." Huh. Both his parents and Bummy were stunned. His universities is normal. After a moment of bewilderment, Ewan's dad suddenly snapped out of it, shouting joyfully, "Right! That's right. A genius can't be considered normal? All right, son. Go ahead and aim for that normal university." Time passed and winter arrived. Snow fell, blanketing everything in white. On the high-speed train, Ewan slowly took out food from his bag of boiled egg and a can of soda. "I've always wanted to do this," he thought happily. He decisively smacked the egg hard against his head. The impact was so sharp it made his eyes water. He peeled it, took a large bite, then tilted his head back and chugged the soda. In that moment, his whole world lit up. His eyes sparkled like stars. This is it. This is the reason why people love eating on the train. A perfect combination. The train stopped at the station. Ewan got off, boarded a bus, and then walked leisurely to a fortified building. "Please sign here as well," an employee instructed. "Okay." Ewan was led into a small room, facing a thick glass pane. "Please wait a moment." "Yes, thank you." He approached, silently looking at the still iron door behind the glass. The face of the wretched man who had imprisoned him for 12 years suddenly came to mind, along with his disgusting, echoing voice. "Do I need to beat it into you? You idiot!" The end. The iron door opened. The police let in the man named B who had kidnapped him. Ewan said nothing, his gaze unusually calm. But when B saw him, he became agitated and yelled, "Why are you here? Did you come to mock me?" Seeing Ewan remain silent, B burst into crazed laughter. He pretended to clean his ear. "Oh, that's right, you're deaf. You can't hear what I'm saying. Right? But you can read my lips, can't you?" He sneered, spitting out each venomous word. "My bastard. Are you doing well? You're the one who killed my whole family, aren't you?" "Hey, inmate 2038, the officer snapped. Despite B's frantic screaming, Ewan just sat still, thinking calmly. There's no fear left. There are no emotions left for this person. He felt as if he were standing before the door of that old warehouse from all those years ago. Am I completely free now? Immediately after, Ewan decisively turned his back on the nightmarish warehouse in his mind, stood up and pressed his face against the glass facing B. His eyes looked straight ahead, not avoiding his gaze. He spoke, his voice clear and cold. "Why have our roles been reversed? Are you afraid of me?" B was stunned. "What, you bastard?" "You can talk, you can hear me." "Sir." Ewan ignored his question and continued. "Your voice is trembling, inmate 2038. Your family, one person died each year, right? From heart attacks to poisoning." "You bastard." B went insane, slamming his hands against the glass. Inmate 2038 hands down. While the officer was warning B, Ewan was silently analyzing him. People only see what they want to see. They only believe what they want to believe. He only wants to hear things that confirm his own thoughts. He smiled and asked slowly, "You also assaulted your two neighbors, didn't you?" But they both died of heart attacks. At this point, B was no longer shouting but stammering in fear. "You!" Goosebumps. Increased heart rate. Blood rushing to the chest. Should I push him a little further? Ewan thought to himself. The injured little Ewan of the past and the composed Jinwin of the present both looked toward the criminal. "I've recently faced a dilemma." Ewan suddenly spoke, his voice slow and clear. "Inmate 2038, I'm wondering if I should tattoo your release date on myself, to make sure I never forget." "Are you threatening me right now?" Mr. Park roared, slamming his hand on the table, making the separating glass vibrate. Ewan just glanced at his clenched fingers, his voice still eerily calm. "Why would you think that?" "I'm simply worried about your health." He suddenly asked a question out of nowhere. "Are you still keeping a diary?" That question was like a needle popping his balloon of arrogance. Memories of long nights spent writing in that notebook flooded back. His face turned pale. "How the hell do you know that?" A strange, almost insane smile spread across Ewan's lips. "For your own health." He began to instruct like a dedicated doctor. "You should never eat until you're full. Put your spoon down the moment you feel satisfied. Exercise moderately and avoid sunlight. Focus your entire mind on maintaining your health." Ewan's smile grew wider, his eyes gleaming with a morbid excitement. "Oh, I even sent a little money." To the commissary account in your locker. In the face of Mr. Park's horrified expression, Ewan continued slowly. It's not much since I'm not working yet, but I'll send it regularly little by little. Every one I deposit will be a reminder. Ewan calculated silently, an invisible string tightening around the man's mind, ensuring that even behind bars, he would never escape me. Suddenly, Ewan shot to his feet, reacting instinctively. Mr. Park threw himself backward in terror, lost his balance, and fell sprawling to the floor. He began to scream in a panic. He's a murderer. My family, my neighbors. That bastard killed all of them. Ewan just watched silently. Now he's just a boring, ordinary person. The officer rushed in, trying to restrain him. Inmate 2038, calm down. One of his lackeys is following me right now. I'm serious, but still an interesting one, Ewan added in his head. He bowed politely. See you later. As Ewan stepped out of the subway station, the first snowflakes of the season, white and soft, began to fall. He held out his hand, letting a snowflake melt in his palm. Snow. His brain automatically analyzed. In terms of physics, they are just microscopic ice crystals, formed around water vapor, falling due to gravity. Everyone around was happy and excited. Depending on the environment, the same phenomenon can bring joy. He remembered the bone-chilling cold in the dark warehouse, or become a source of stress and suffering. That is why one's environment is so important. He looked at the bright lights and the warm crowd. But perhaps even in this cold, the warmth of humanity still exists. Yes! Just then he saw Bommy walking with two friends. Bommy, he called out loudly. Yes, Appa. Her voice came from the phone. Where are you? I'm on my way home. Where are you? Right in front of you. Bommy, surprised, looked up and saw her brother standing there, smiling and waving. Appa, she cried out happily, running toward him, like the falling snowflakes. Bommy was running toward him, her smile as bright as the sun. The path might be a little slippery, but she didn't look down at the ground at all. Her eyes were fixed only on him. This is why environment is so important, Ewan affirmed to himself with a smile. He opened his arms to welcome his little sister into a hug. So in this environment, am I happy? Where did you come from? Bommy asked cheerfully. I went to meet an acquaintance, Ewan replied, just someone I used to know. Someone I probably won't have to see again. Bommy's two friends stood from a distance, mouths agape, whispering. Whoa, that's Bommy's brother, he's crazy cool. Ewan took out a cloth-wrapped food container from his backpack. Bommy, try this. What is it? Takoyaki. I wrapped it so it wouldn't get cold. Huh, you saved some just for me. Bommy was surprised. Yeah, try it, it's good. The next morning, as the first plum blossoms of the season bloomed, Ewan got off the bus and entered a university campus. He stopped in front of a bulletin board, reading a flyer about a free lunch for new students. Of course, the real purpose of this event isn't a free lunch, he thought to himself. Entering the lecture hall, Ewan was overwhelmed. Oh, so this is a university lecture hall? He chose a seat in the middle. This position is the most normal. Suddenly, a male student approached cheerfully. Hey, hello? You're Shin Ewan, right? I'm Park Jong-guk. Nice to meet you. Ewan glanced at him. His brain immediately retrieved information from the group chat for new students. Hello, Park Jong-guk. It's a pleasure. Let us get along and avoid conflict. Jong-guk blinked a few times confused. You talk like you're reading from a textbook. He sat down. You know about the get-together after class, right? Yes, I'm aware. While they were talking, Jong-guk suddenly shot up and called out, Oh, Xionghui, you're here. The atmosphere in the lecture hall started to get lively, a symphony of excited conversations and new beginnings. Ewan sat properly in the lecture hall, feeling secretly joyful. Finally, my first university lecture. I've always wanted to experience this. The teacher entered the classroom. Welcome, everyone. I'm the professor who will be in charge of business administration. He started immediately with a question. So what do you think business is? Does anyone want to answer? The whole class was silent. Ewan was also silent because he thought raising his hand to speak right now would be not normal. All right, then. The professor had to call on someone. How about the student in the blue shirt? Is it leading a company? Okay, the student in the white shirt. I think it's about managing and operating a business. Good. So what should a leader be good at? The female student in the middle row. The girl next to Ewan stammered, they should be good at planning and creating strategies. Instructions. What about the good student sitting next to me? Did I get called on because I'm in the middle? Ewan thought blankly. Well, since I was called, I have to answer. He stood up and offered a concise opinion. I think they should be skilled at persuasion. Yes, persuasion. The professor stroked his chin and repeated. Yes, what do you mean by that? Ewan suddenly recalled the flyer for the stock investment, genius competition he had seen before. There it is, a fitting example. He began to explain. I saw a securities firm that's holding a stock trading competition. On the surface, people will think of the prize money and want to participate. But in reality, it's a subtly designed form of persuasion. It's a method to screen and identify individuals with innate trading skills from an early stage. The winners will receive scholarships and support from the company, internships, and will later be recruited. They've created a binding relationship, based on persuasion from the very beginning. The professor began to look impressed. His friend Donggu sitting nearby was gaping in amazement. But Yuen wasn't finished. He spoke eloquently, as if presenting a thesis. When we watch commercials, our brains enter a state similar to hypnosis. Business leaders know how to exploit this. From phones to food, they persuade us that we want to buy it, want to own it, want to experience it. We call it marketing, but looking at the bigger picture, basically, this entire civilized society is built on persuasion. When he finished, the entire lecture hall was silent. Even the professor stood motionless on the podium. Without breaking the silence, Yuen naively raised his hand and asked, "Professor, so when does the lecture begin?" "I just wanted to attend a normal class," he thought. The whole class turned in unison to look at him. They all had the same thought. "You just gave the entire lecture." At that moment, the professor snapped out of it and began to applaud. An excellent answer. Then he wondered to himself, is this student the top-ranked incoming freshman? The entire class also applauded enthusiastically. Yet Yuen frowned to himself. Living a normal life is harder than I thought. I need to try harder. The professor began the official lecture. Business administration is the study of how to manage an organization effectively. Yes, it's finally starting. Yuen thought, eagerly nodding as if paying close attention. The core of business is planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. I already know this. Yuen placed his pen on his chin, trying to look thoughtful. Leadership is motivating people. Controlling is checking, to see if everything is going according to plan. I've read all this stuff in books, he whined silently to himself. Suddenly, the girl next to him turned to look at him in surprise. Oh, crap. Did the professor notice I wasn't paying attention? Can't let my guard down, Yuen quickly told himself. At exactly 10:58, the professor concluded his lecture. All right, that's all for today. Enjoy your lunch, everyone. The students began to file out of the classroom. Finally, time to enjoy the legendary university meal. Yuen clenched his fists, his eyes sparkling with excitement. The lecture hall emptied in an instant, leaving only the echoing goodbyes of the students. See you later. Enjoy your lunch. At the crowded and bustling cafeteria, Yuen couldn't help but let out a gasp of admiration at its sheer scale. He quickly joined the line, got his food, and found a seat. The moment he set his tray down, he began to eat at a terrifying speed, like a tiger that hadn't eaten in days, leaving those around him with their jaws on the floor. In the blink of an eye, Yuen's food tray was completely clean. He put down his spoon and silently critiqued in his head. Lacking MSG, the umami flavor isn't rich enough. Perhaps because it's a mass-produced meal, they intentionally made it bland. Just then, his phone vibrated. Hello, Yuen. Are you busy from Detective Kim Tae-yun? Yuen typed back. I just finished eating. Not busy. Immediately, the phone rang. Hello, Yuen answered. I've got a tough case here. Tae-yun got straight to the point. This time, it's 100,000 won. Memories flooded back. The phone exchanges with Detective Tae-yun. The lavish meals and the generous payments. Does this person have an alibi? The person in the video has many similarities with the culprit. What do you think? Thanks a lot. Eat up. This is too much. Thank you. Back in the present, Yuen stood up and put away his tray. This method of making money is indeed very effective, he thought. All right. He said to Tae-yun, send me the information. I think we should talk in person. When are you free? Another message appeared on Yuen's screen. Due to the professor's personal reasons, this afternoon's 2 p.m. class is canceled. I'm free now, Yuen replied immediately. Where should we meet? No need. Stay where you are. I'll come pick you up at the school gate. Before long, Tae-yun had arrived. You're here, Yuen greeted him. Tae-yun looked him over, impressed. Wow, you really look like a college student now. Even more handsome than before. This university is no ordinary school, you know. What's the case this time? Yuen got straight to the point. Let's talk in the car. In the car, Tae-yun reached into the back seat to grab the file. Hold on. Detective Yuen suddenly proposed, instead of looking at videos or pictures, can we go directly to the crime scene? This suggestion surprised Tae-yun. The crime scene. Humans learn and make judgments based on experience. Yuen thought, the more direct experiences I have, the more accurate the data I collect will be. I want to experience it firsthand, he replied. Tae-yun thought for a moment, then nodded. All right, if that's what you want. They arrived at an old residential complex. Third floor, let's go, Tae-yun said. The crime scene room was sealed with yellow police tape. Yes, thanks for your hard work. Tae-yun greeted the police officer on guard. As the tape was removed, Tae-yun turned to Yuen one more time. Are you really okay with this? Yes. Inside, a large pool of blood had dried dark on the floor. Next to it was a white chalk outline of the victim's body. Yuen frowned slightly. His eyes were like a camera rewinding time, reconstructing the entire horrific scene of the murder. The victim opens the door. The killer takes advantage of the moment he turns and slams the door shut. He lunges the sharp knife in his hand, stabbing once into the neck. The victim clutches his neck in terror but doesn't fall. The killer ruthlessly stabs again, this time in the stomach. The victim falls, his limbs convulsing. The assailant coldly flips him onto his back, covering his mouth tightly until the victim stops breathing. Ewan scanned the room with his eyes. His brain began a cold analysis. Aimed for the throat first, the stab wound on the right side of the neck caused excessive blood loss. The weapon was a specialized knife, not a kitchen knife. This was a planned murder, not impulsive. The sole purpose was to take a life. "You really are my little brother," Taeyun praised in amazement. "Just by looking at the scene, you can deduce everything." "Did you find anything else?" Ewan asked. "No. Nothing new yet? This is the security footage of the suspect. Want to see?" Taeyun handed him an iPad. As Ewan watched the video, he asked, "What about fingerprints?" "None." Suddenly, Ewan's eyes widened. He saw a blonde-haired man standing in front of the victim's house. The suspect and victim knew each other. Male, approximately 180 centimeters tall, blonde dyed hair. Didn't conceal his face. Carrying a plastic bag with a bottle of soju. Shoe size approx 270mm. "That's right," Taeyun confirmed Ewan's deductions. "This person has already been arrested, right?" Ewan offered his final conclusion. "But I don't think he's the real killer." Yeah, he's been arrested," Taeyun replied, then asked, "But why do you think that all the current evidence points to him?" Instead of answering directly, Ewan countered with a slightly challenging tone, "If you already believe the evidence, then why do you still need me?" Taeyun scratched his head helplessly and admitted, "Just as I thought, I can't fool you." He vehemently denies it, and my gut tells me something's wrong. Only then did Ewan begin his analysis. "His alibi is too perfect." "Suspiciously so." "That's right," Taeyun continued. "He claimed he spent the night at a motel, paid with cash. Conveniently, the motel's security camera was broken that day, and the owner was so drunk he couldn't remember any guests' faces." The video on the iPad paused on the image of a strand of hair being collected from the crime scene. "You know," Ewan suddenly spoke up, "the murder weapon was probably a long, sharp knife, like a sashimi knife. If we build a hypothesis based on the killer being proficient with this type of knife, everything becomes clearer." He explained, "Criminals tend to use tools they are most familiar with. It helps them minimize unforeseen variables. And if we assume this killer works a job with frequent exposure to water, that would explain why no fingerprints were found, even though he rang the doorbell with his bare hand." "Is there a basis for that?" Taeyun asked, surprised. "Yes," Ewan affirmed confidently. "People with constant exposure to water and chemicals often suffer from chronic hand eczema, which leads to their fingerprints being worn down and disappearing." He pointed to the strand of hair on the screen. "And this? It could be animal fur, or from a completely different person. It could even be a wig." "Are you saying the killer wore a wig?" "Exactly," Ewan replied. "Not just to cause confusion, but to manipulate the entire situation. Look closely at the footprints. The body weight is concentrated mostly on the heel, making the toe prints very faint. When a person attacks instinctively, their weight shifts forward onto their toes. This indicates that he deliberately wore a pair of shoes larger than his actual foot size. Also, the scuff mark next to the shoe here is very strange." Ewan pointed to another spot on the floor. "Maybe he tripped during the struggle," Taeyun guessed. No, Ewan shook his head. "He acted very quickly and efficiently. Assuming a struggle did occur with an ankle twist like this, his ligaments would be severely damaged at the very least, possibly even a broken bone. But look." He forwarded the video to the part where the killer leaves. "He's walking completely normally. No limp at all. No matter how high the adrenaline rush, it can't conceal an injury. As serious as that. He was wearing shoe inserts." He pointed again at the killer's blonde hair. "Look closely again. Compared to when he entered, a lock of hair on the right side has shifted slightly. Real hair can't become displaced like that in just a few minutes." The light from the iPad screen reflected on Ewan's thoughtful face, meaning he deliberately wore bigger shoes and a wig. Taeyun exclaimed, stunned. "Precisely," Ewan continued. "The real killer needed to eliminate both the victim and the suspect, who is currently in custody. The victim was an easy target, small in stature. But the suspect is much larger, not easy to overpower. So he chose to frame him instead." He looked at the suspect's information on the screen. "Suspect is 184 centimeters tall, shoe size 270. At the time of arrest, his hair was black. The police probably thought the sudden hair dye was suspicious behavior." Hearing this, Taeyun frowned and scratched his head. He remembered roaring at the suspect that day. "You dyed your hair to deny your crime, didn't you? You think the police are a joke?" "Man, I got a little carried away by my emotions," he admitted. "My conclusion is," Ewan reassembled the pieces. "The real killer's shoe size is around 255 to 260 mm. He knew the victim and has a valid reason to frame the suspect. He has masterful sashimi knife skills, may be suffering from chronic hand eczema, and most likely has a high level of education, capable of meticulous planning. Criminals with low levels of education tend to act impulsively. They couldn't stage such a complex play. So what's the motive? Money, revenge, or some complicated love triangle? Ewan thought pensively. The investigation in his mind had only just begun. Lower-class criminals often use violence to solve their problems, but the higher the education level, the more systematically the crime is planned, Ewan noted to himself. Just then, Detective Tae-yun's phone rang. "Yeah, this is Tae-yun. John find anything?" "Yes, sir." "But it's not real hair. It's a wig." "What?" Tae-yun was so shocked his jaw dropped. Meanwhile, Win was still analyzing seriously. The victim lived in a studio apartment, and the suspect lived in a boarding house. Neither of them was well off financially. The culprit's shoe size is between 255 and 260 mm. Therefore, his height would be between 166 and 170, most likely in his 30s. Hearing this, a memory flashed in Tae-yun's mind. The employee at the sushi restaurant. "Oh, it's him." He hurriedly yelled into the phone, "John, that guy who works at the sushi restaurant, arrest him now." The next day, on his way to school, Ewan's phone rang. "Ewan, I love you." Tae-yun's cheerful voice came from the other end. "I'm not interested," Ewan replied coldly. "But thanks for the 100,001 reward." "What was the motive?" "He borrowed money from both victims and killed them, fearing they'd report him." "I see. Study hard, okay?" "Of course, bye." As soon as the call ended, a tall young man from behind called out, "Jin Ewan." Ewan turned around, his brain automatically scanning him. Height approx 178 cm. Short hair, one eyebrow, thicker tan skin. Slender but toned build. He quickly realized, this is the person who sent me supporter funds before. "Hello, my name is Kim Mansu." The young man introduced himself. "You were amazing just now." "I thought I was listening to a professor's lecture." "So that's how people see me." "I need to be more careful," Ewan thought to himself. "Hey, are you also joining the stock trading competition?" Mansu pointed to the flyer on the notice board. "A lot of people in our class are participating." "A lot of people?" Ewan asked in surprise. "So should I participate? If I don't, won't I stand out?" A complex chain of thought appeared in his mind. The stock market is also a predatory ecosystem. The antlion larva digs a sandpit waiting for ants to fall into its trap, drains their bodily fluids and discards the empty husk. In this market, small retail investors, the ants, are also having their money drained by larger forces. They wonder in confusion, should I buy? Then hastily decide, I have to buy now. They stare at the screen desperately praying. But when the stock plummets, they collapse, terrified, even frantically destroying things. The end result is tragic. If most normal people are ants, I should be like them. But if I lose money, Mom, Dad, and Mommy will be very sad. A decisive decision was made. In that case, instead of being drained, I will be the one doing the draining. This self-justification is also a part of living a normal life. Ewan sat in front of the computer screen. Numbers and charts danced continuously. He watched them, thinking to himself, I should be happy, but why don't I feel anything? Being normal is really hard. Suddenly, a green arrow shot straight to the bottom of the chart. The stock crashed. Ewan's eyes widened, but his mind remained calm. It's okay, this isn't real, it's just a simulation. He touched his chin. A thought flashed. If my second personality were to awaken, how would it react in this situation? It knows all the things I've unconsciously ignored. Perhaps observing myself isn't such a bad idea. He closed his eyes and commanded his own subconscious. Come out now. A sly, smug smile appeared on Ewan's lips. The entity within had awakened. He ran a hand stylishly through his hair, then placed both hands on his hips, admiring his reflection in the mirror. Long time no see, he said to himself, his voice arrogant. I have to admit I'm pretty handsome. I could totally become a celebrity just for fun. With that, he ripped off his t-shirt, revealing a body covered in horrific scars. A map of pain, he smirked. Or maybe acting isn't for me. He plopped down in the chair, his hands flying across the keyboard at dizzying speed, looking up specialized terms. In AI and finance, the screen was filled with text and data. This is what needs to be done, he thought. All the memories of his days in captivity came flooding back. Back then, I was the one in complete control of this body. But now that kid Yuin is gradually regaining autonomy. If this continues, I'll eventually disappear. He leaned back in his chair, telling himself seriously, that's why I have to show him my value. His eyes were glued to the chart. The stock market was fluctuating wildly. Looks like the whales have started to move. He smirked. I can clearly see the signs of accumulation. He held his head high, his voice dripping with sarcasm as if speaking to Ewan. Hey, Ewan! Just simulating is useless. Are you a child? You're an adult now. Click, click. He decisively clicked the mouse. Trade complete. Trade complete. Trade complete. The red arrows that were pointing straight down moments ago now all turned a vibrant green and shot up like rockets before his arrogant smile. All the indices shot straight up through the roof. Money, he began to lecture condescendingly, is not something you earn. It's something others make for you. In this market, Those who are called retail investors ultimately just get drained. The next day at school. 10 a.m. class, right? Jung-suk started a conversation. Yeah, Ewan replied. Great, 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 let's go. In the classroom, students were buzzing with discussion. I made a 3% profit yesterday. I lost 7%. They say you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Ewan just listened silently, thinking to himself, I should start soon too. I have an afternoon class tomorrow, so I'll start in the morning. Then the professor walked in. The lecture began with a familiar routine. The projector turned on, and the professor's monotonous voice began to drone on like a prayer. A few keywords managed to reach Ewan's ears: talent acquisition, market share, brand image. Then it was followed by a long, boring stream of knowledge. The lecture was so dull that even Ewan started to nod off. The professor, in the middle of his passionate speech, based on the results of this analysis, we can achieve a competitive advantage, suddenly stopped. He had seen Ewan dozing. The professor remembered the previous class, when he had asked if there were any questions. It was Ewan who had shot up his eyes, shining brightly. When he asked if anyone was having trouble, it was also Ewan who had unleashed a barrage of complex analyses and questions, turning the lecture into an academic debate. That left him exhausted. Just let him sleep, the professor thought to himself. At the same time, though his eyes were closed, Ewan's mind was screaming, I can't sleep. Nodding off in class is a normal thing to do. I want to experience it just once. He remembered a scene from a movie where a professor scolds a sleeping student and sighed internally. Just as I thought, it's not easy at all. Being normal is so hard. As he was lost in thought, a sentence from the professor jolted Ewan awake. All right, that's the end of today's lecture. I will be assigning homework. Homework? Ewan immediately shot his head up, his face beaming as if he'd struck gold. He raised his hand high, opened his mouth wide, and almost shouted, Professor! What kind of homework is it? Finally, we have homework. The thing I've always wanted to try, he thought excitedly. The professor's mouth twitched. When did he wake up? He reluctantly answered. Read The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Discuss perfect competition markets and marginal utility. Diminishing. Then form groups of 4 and submit your lists. The moment he finished speaking, Ewan's voice once again bombarded the lecture hall. Professor, I have a question. Words shot out of his mouth like a machine gun. Economists often use diamonds and air to explain the paradox of value. But in modern times, can't we interpret it in a new way? The entire lecture hall looked at Ewan as if he had just landed from another planet. Diamonds and air, who does that? Is that even a question anymore? This is a full-blown debate. There he goes again. What the hell is he talking about? Ewan, unfazed, continued to present his sharp argument. Let me explain using mukbang for people who eat a lot. Does the law of diminishing marginal utility apply to them? They eat continuously but still seem to enjoy it. Even when they force themselves to eat, they can still enjoy it, because they earn money from views. Can we consider this an exception to the law, caused by addiction? Eat. The professor gave a forced smile, reluctantly drawn into the debate. Well, possibly. Gambling or gaming addictions are also considered exceptions, so this case could be understood in that way. But Ewan didn't let up easily. But calling this an exception due to addiction is too general. I feel it's not just related to the stomach, but also a matter of hormones, specifically leptin, the hormone that creates the feeling of fullness. The entire class stared blankly. What's leptin? The feeling of fullness isn't just from eating enough. Did I accidentally sign up for advanced biology? If the body produces less leptin, it can lead to obesity. The opposing hormone is ghrelin. It stimulates the brain more strongly to maintain the state of addiction, so the neural response is also stronger. The economics professor at this point just wanted to scream internally. How am I supposed to know this stuff? But looking at Ewan's shining eyes and eager expression, he couldn't help but praise him silently. He's genuinely curious. He's asking sincerely. No, there's no more time. The professor panicked and cut him off when he saw Ewan preparing to delve deeper into factors affecting addiction. Time's up. Everyone form your groups and submit your lists. See you all later. After saying that, he quickly packed his bag and bolted from the classroom as if being chased by a ghost. Immediately, the students swarmed around Ewan. Hello, Ewan. Ewan be in my group. I called him first. Want to grab a drink after class? In the afternoon, Ewan sat in front of his computer screen, the mouse cursor moving. He clicked the button. Trade complete. He recalled what his second personality had said the day before. It seems the big investors are starting to make their move. I see the signs of accumulation. He clicked the mouse repeatedly. Buy order executed. Buy order executed. The second personality smiled smugly in his mind. Good, listen carefully, Jinwin. Money is something that other people make for you. A vision appeared in Ewan's mind. The second personality stood there beginning his own lecture. In other words, unless you're printing the money yourself. Otherwise, you always have to give something of value to get it back. Whether you're an employee or a CEO has to generate revenue to pay salaries. To get revenue, they have to constantly entertain clients, bowing down to others. The vision shifted to an exhausted CEO after a drinking party. Ugh. Exhausted and someone who owns a company will hire employees to make money for them. In that case, the employee is the one who has to entertain clients, has to please others. The vision shifted again to Ewan, serving a difficult customer. Of course, sir. You can also take it for a test drive. Understand now, the second personality's voice echoed. The nature of money is not ownership, but control. Who is the one creating the value, and who is the one benefiting from that value? In this game, you can't be an ant. You have to be the antlion. In Ewan's inner world, the second entity was lecturing, itself on the art of making money, a ruthless and effective philosophy. A good manager just needs to stand still and offer praise at the right time. Good job. You can do it. And then the employee will work relentlessly, exhausting themselves until the day they can shout, "We did it, sir." Just like that, money will continuously flow in and out, creating an endless loop. If you want stability, choose a safe life. But if you crave wealth, you must be prepared to face the risk of falling into the abyss. There will be tens of thousands of hands from below waiting to pull you down, along with jealous curses. Drag him down. That spot is mine. However, even if you're not in business, you still have employees working tirelessly for you. And that is money. Money is the most loyal employee. It allows you to enjoy your hobbies, activating endorphins and serotonin, bringing happiness and reducing stress. Money improves both mental and physical well-being, like a personal therapist. Most people don't realize that. After you've had your fun, the remaining money can be sent to work. For example, when a big boss gives an order, "A new gold mine has been discovered, go dig," the high-value golden money employees will immediately obey. The question is, where should we send our employees? Ewan's second personality stroked its chin thoughtfully. "A gold mine has been discovered," it muttered. His low-value blue money employees immediately asked, "Boss, should we go dig for gold too?" No, it replied wisely. "We will sell shovels," while countless golden coins are toiling away, complaining. "Is there really gold here?" Their shovels begin to break. "I swung too hard and it broke. I have to go buy a new one." They're selling them right at the entrance. And so they flock to Ewan's blue money employees. "Sell me a shovel, please. That'll be 10,001 each." Transaction complete. Instantly, one blue money employee becomes two. Is selling shovels really more profitable than digging for gold? Should we scale up our operation? Don't be greedy. Take the profit and prepare for the next opportunity. Our money, our employees, the second personality mused. What's important is where we send them and when. Now, it ordered, invest in Cheongdam Beauty. It began to analyze. A cosmetics company that was once very stable until it changed its CEO 2 years ago. The stock plummeted and has stagnated ever since. The signs of an accumulation strategy are very clear. Market capitalization 80 billion won, a figure that can be completely manipulated if a major investor enters the game. News articles are continuously released. Cheongdam Beauty discovers breakthrough hair growth active ingredient. Cheongdam Beauty accelerates phase 3 clinical trials. Cheongdam Beauty's CEO is a college friend of Assemblyman M. Foreign investors are pouring their attention into Cheongdam Beauty. If you don't buy in now, it asserted you can only be a fool. And then the grandest performance began. The bright red arrow on the electronic board shot up into the sky. The news reports were sensational. A domestic company collaborates to develop a cure for baldness, the first in the world. Even international professors are participating. The crowd began to go wild. Whatever the price is going up, national pride is soaring. Buy. Standing above, the second personality looked down at the chaotic crowd and mused. Humans are inherently irrational. They follow trends, led by the crowd rather than making their own decisions. This looks great, I have to get in. This is trending. I can't be the only one left out. But then the chaos began. Hey, what do we do now? Should we sell? Now are you crazy? We're leaving. That's right, leaving. All the blue arrows on the electronic board plummeted, unstoppably through the ground and straight to the bottom of the sea. A ferocious waterfall carrying the pressure of 1,000 tons crashed down. But Ewan's second personality just stood there smirking. "Not selling!" It growled, its voice full of defiance. "Do they think I'm a fool?" In Ewan's mind, a vision appeared. In the middle of a chaotic ocean, where thousands of people were flailing wildly, screaming for help, his second personality sat calmly on the water's surface. It coldly stepped on the desperate reaching hands, using their very suffering as a platform, to walk steadily on the turbulent waves. The real-life stock market is an ocean just like that, with red and blue numbers intertwined, rising and falling erratically. But to him, it was all just a boring game. He stood before a soaring red chart, smirking. How about that? The red arrow continued to shoot up, scraping the sky, piercing the atmosphere and reaching out into space. Now this is enough, it thought with satisfaction. The next morning, Yuen opened the door. I'm leaving. Yuen, what about lunch? His mother called out after him. I'm okay, Yuen replied as he ran. I'm already full. At school, the atmosphere in the classroom was lively. Now I can't back out anymore. Haha, you shouldn't have joined in the first place. Jong-hoon, what about you? Oh, Jong-hoon, a prominent student in the class shouted excitedly. I made a profit. A whole 19%. His friends immediately gathered around, fawning. That's next level. Teach me. Just do exactly as I say, he replied arrogantly, his eyes glancing distractedly towards Yuen, who was surrounded by another group. Huh, you've already read The Wealth of Nations, His friend Im Mina asked Yuen in surprise. I'll summarize it for you guys. Yuen answered calmly, impressing everyone around him. Jong-hoon observed quietly, then decided to approach. He pushed aside a friend sitting next to Yuen's group and initiated a conversation. How's everyone doing with their stock trading? Ah, Donggu, Yuen's friend scratched his head and laughed. You mean that simulation contest? I didn't participate. Me neither, Mina added. I don't really know how to play stocks. But Mina's direct gaze made Jong-hoon a little flustered. He avoided her eyes and replied awkwardly, You just have to try it, it's not that hard. Meanwhile, Yuen was silently scanning the entire situation. His left eye observed Jong-hoon, while his right eye reflected Mina's image. And what about you? Jong-hoon steered this conversation towards him. You look like the type who would participate in that. Yuen didn't answer right away. He was analyzing every expression on Jong-hoon's face. Eyes only half-smiling, cheek muscles froze an asymmetrical smile. A fake smile. A deeper analysis took place in his brain. A moment ago, Oh Jong-hoon showed an unconscious fear towards Im Mina. It's an instinctual reaction, like how one would avoid the gaze of a group of tattooed gangsters. This is an evolutionary remnant in the male DNA, a fear of the leader of the pack. Attractive females are often with the strongest male, and approaching them could lead to death or exile. That fear is deeply ingrained in Oh Jong-hoon's subconscious. So what are you losing money? Jong-hoon asked deliberately with a smirk. Now Yuen understood. He's intentionally using me as a target, to show off, trying to get Im Mina's attention. He flaunts his brand name watch, expensive shoes, and that fake 19% profit. His words right now are like a knife, and I am the prey. An arrogant pirate, using words to attack others. How interesting. After a moment of silence, Yuen lowered his eyes, his voice full of sorrow. It's a disaster for me. A triumphant smile flashed in Oh Jong-hoon's eyes, but he quickly hid it behind a facade of fake concern. What's wrong? Are your profits not what you expected? Yuen observed every micro-expression on his face, then slowly replied, his voice full of regret. I should have just stuck to the simulation, but I accidentally used real money to buy. That statement was like a thunderclap. Jong-hoon froze for a second, then clutched his stomach and burst into triumphant laughter, making no effort to hide it. You accidentally traded with real money. How could you make such a dumb mistake? So how much did you lose? 3. Yuen thought to himself. Lying to him is also a part of living an abnormal life. He shook his head and calmly spoke, cutting through Jong-hoon's laughter. I made a 30% profit. The smile on Jong-hoon's face froze. 30%. Yuen held up his phone screen as evidence, irrefutable proof. Everyone around them was simultaneously stunned. Wait, for real? That's insane. You made money by accident. Only Jong-hoon stood there frozen. He stared wide-eyed at Yuen, thinking in terror. Just as I thought. He's no ordinary kid. His eyes scanned him from head to toe, screaming internally. Cheap denim jacket, old model phone, no watch, shoes that cost less than 50,000 won. Overall, he just looks like a poor kid. How the hell did he hit the daily trading limit and make a 30% profit? What stock did he buy? While Jong-hoon was scanning Yuen was also analyzing him. Oh, Jong-hoon, he's trying to find something in me. A weakness, a flaw. Anything that would make me seem inferior to him. Ah, that's it, Jong-hoon suddenly shouted. What stock was it? Can I see for a second? He lunged forward, trying to snatch the phone. But in his haste, he knocked the phone out of Yuen's hand. The phone fell. Time seemed to stop. Yuen's brain immediately activated. Analysis mode. Height. Weight of the phone. Free fall velocity. Material and angle of the stairs. All variables calculated in an instant. Conclusion. Breaking is unavoidable. I have to save it. That was the only thought in Yuen's mind. He immediately lowered his center of gravity and lunged forward. His hand reached out in the final moment, just before the phone hit the ground. He snatched it. Whoa, did you really catch that? Insane reflexes. Yeah, Jong-hoon stammered. Ah, sorry. Yuen just casually replied, it's okay. But in that moment when he bent down, his jacket lifted up, revealing the crisscrossing white scars hidden around his waist. Jong-hoon saw them. His eyes lit up as if he'd struck gold. He immediately yelled, "What happened to your waist? Oh my God!" "Oh!" Minna cried out in alarm. "Wow!" Jong-hoon said with loaded meaning, then smirked. He spoke loudly on purpose so everyone could hear. "What's that? Were you a thug before, haha? If you went to a public bathhouse, even the guys covered in tattoos would probably avoid you." "Hey!" Yuen looked at him coldly. But Jong-hoon continued his malicious joke. "If you get into a fight, you just have to lift your shirt and your opponent will run for the hills, right?" He glanced at the two female friends trying to drag them in. "Hey, everyone should be nice to Yuen, okay?" The two girls just whispered anxiously to each other. "It looks like he was seriously injured." Yuen looked directly into Jong-hoon's eyes, not a hint of fear. "So this is finally happening to me," he thought calmly. He recalled bullying scenes from movies, the psychological mechanisms he had read about. Once people criticize or belittle others, they subconsciously feel superior. This process activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine. Hatred, indignation, and envy also temporarily focus energy, releasing cortisol. Humiliating others is not just a simple emotion, but an act related to biological pleasure. "Oh, Jong-hoon is publicly demeaning me. He is enjoying this feeling." "Did you get hurt in a 1 versus 17 fight? Or were you the 17th guy?" Wen continued to analyze calmly. The way Oh Jong-hoon aggressively judges others shows that he's addicted to the feeling of showing off, addicted to the pleasure that comes from belittling others. And an addiction like that is not easily given up. And Oh Jong-hoon will continue to provoke me. In society, the majority are perpetrators and the minority are victims. Therefore, those who endure are often seen as weak, as abnormal. If I want to become normal, I must side with the majority. A decisive decision was made. Yuen stood up, flashing a bright, calculated smile. "Before we do homework, how about we all go out for a drink today to get closer? I just made a small profit from stock, so it's on me tonight." Immediately, Imina and the others flocked to him, cheering in unison. "Oh, sounds great. Perfect. Good." Yuen calculated. "This way, Imina will help me herd the prey." Then he turned to Jong-hoon and invited him warmly. "Jong-hoon, will you join us? I also want to learn more about stocks." "You're good at it, right?" Jong-hoon forced a smile and replied boastfully, "It's not that hard." "Sure, I'll go." He had no idea that by accepting the invitation, he had just stepped into a carefully designed trap. A blinding light shone directly into his face. It was the light over Yuen's operating table. Here Oh Jong-hoon was the patient, and everyone would witness what was hidden inside of him. Wen thought to himself, he will be dissected layer by layer to reveal his true nature. "Doctor, the patient is still conscious." "It doesn't matter, doctor." Yuen smiled and ordered scalpel. At a bustling pub, Yuen was outside talking on the phone. "You're nearby. Would it be a problem if I stopped by? I want to meet your new friends." "Okay, let me tell them." Yuen pushed the door open and walked in. The atmosphere inside was quite cozy. "It's a shame Mansu couldn't make it," Minna said. Yuen smiled and asked, "Has everyone finished ordering?" "Yes, but there won't be any leftovers." Yuen replied with a laugh, seeing the table laden with food. Jong-hoon observed quietly, then began his attack. "Oh, right, Yuen. You've been dozing off in class a lot lately. Are you losing sleep over stocks?" He chuckled mockingly. Everyone's like that at first. But Yuen was intently looking at the plate of tteokbokki, his eyes wide with admiration. "This is really good." "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Jong-hoon growled in frustration. Yeah, I heard you," Yuen replied nonchalantly. "Like I said, I just bought it by accident." "Sell it quickly." Jong-hoon started to play the expert. "That kind of stock is very risky. It looks like a manipulated stock. Newbies can't make money from it." And Yuen, while spearing a piece of tteokbokki, calmly replied, "Well, I did consider 19 different economic indicators. Checked the prices of commodities like gold, silver, oil, and copper, monitored the exchange rates of various countries, and then skimmed through a few articles and online rumors." "What?" Jong-hoon shouted in disbelief. "You chose based on that stuff." "It was just an accident," Yuen replied modestly. "I just got lucky. Even if it was a mistake, a 30% profit is still incredible." Minna couldn't help but exclaim. Wen silently observed the expression on Jong-hoon's face twisted as if he'd eaten a chili pepper. Anyone could see he was annoyed. Jong-hoon suddenly stood up, grabbing a bottle of soju. He started pouring for everyone. A mistake like that is pretty impressive. "All right, let's drink." He poured for Yuen as well. "Here." "Thanks," Yuen replied politely, while his brain carefully dissected his every gesture, placing a hand on his hip to make himself look bigger, like a cobra flaring its hood. An instinctual behavior to display superiority. "Yeah, because it was the mistake, it's even more amazing." Minna praised him admiringly again. "Oh, Jong-hoon doesn't like Lee Minna praising me," Yuen concluded silently. His body language is defensive, but because of his addiction to showing off, he won't back down. He'll soon show off something else. Just as expected, Jong-hoon immediately changed the subject. Haha, if I make a few more mistakes like that, I could probably afford a watch like this. He held up his designer watch, just as predicted, trying to make himself the center of attention. Uin assessed coldly. The surgery has only just begun. Cheers? Oh, Jong-hoon's loud voice stirred the atmosphere. Bottoms up. Uin also awkwardly raised his soju glass. Finally, my first time drinking alcohol, he thought excitedly. I've always wanted to try it. Clink, clink. The glasses tapped together. The shout of bottoms up echoed. Uin tilted his head back and drained the glass. The sharp, burning liquid scorched his throat, making his eyes pop open in surprise. His eyebrows knitted together, while his friends around him were cheering excitedly. Ah, that's good. Uin had to cover his mouth, trying to suppress the unpleasant feeling. The whole world seemed to spin. They say alcohol tastes good when you grow up. Does this mean I'm still a kid? This is awful. Just then, Uin's phone rang. The 3 letters Lee Harem appeared on the screen. He turned to ask everyone in a formal tone, "My friend says she's nearby. I was wondering if it would be okay for her to stop by for a bit. Even if they say no, she's still coming," Uin thought to himself, quickly glancing at Jong-hoon. "A friend?" Everyone asked, confused, but quickly agreed. Of course, tell her to come. "Hey, Harem, they said it's okay," Uin said into the phone. "Oh, it's a girl," Jong-hoon blurted out in surprise. A moment later, the restaurant door opened. The sharp click-clack of high heels echoed decisively. Harem walked in, dressed in elegant and luxurious office attire, completely out of place in this noisy environment. "A pub," she said. "I didn't expect you to like places like this." "Welcome," Uin said, pulling out a chair for her. "Hi, everyone. I'm Uin's friend, Lee Harem." After a second of being stunned by Harem's beauty, the whole group immediately became excited. "Hi, I'm Minna. You're so pretty." "Hi, I'm Oh Jong-hoon." Jong-hoon enthusiastically cut in. "You're really beautiful." Then he asked a loaded question. "You two probably aren't just normal friends, are you?" Harem frowned slightly. Her eyes flickered past his cheap jacket and landed on the designer watch that Jong-hoon was deliberately showing off. She nodded curtly. "Yeah, we're just friends." "Nice to meet you." Harem absolutely hates people who try to be something they're not, Uin thought. As if by accident, Harem raised her hand to brush her hair, revealing the diamond-encrusted watch on her wrist worth hundreds of millions. Of one. Jong-hoon's eyes went wide. Embarrassed, he unconsciously hid his own hand and turned his face away. But he still tried to save face. "Really just friends? You two look great together." Harem lazily waved a hand, signaling for Uin to handle it. "Jong-hoon, we really are just friends," Uin reluctantly repeated to break the awkward atmosphere. Uin turned to another friend. "Junha, you must get complimented on your physique a lot, right? Is your hobby swimming?" "Huh. How did you know?" Junha asked, surprised. "Just a feeling." The conversation quickly shifted. The drinking party suddenly turned into a swimming class, where Junha enthusiastically lectured about freediving and snorkeling, capturing everyone's attention. And Uin turned to Minna, cleverly bringing up her hobby of watching movies, making the conversation as lively as if they were in a movie theater. Just by adjusting your words a little, a conversation can become much more interesting, Uin judged calmly. While everyone was happily chatting, Oh Jong-hoon started to feel left out. And Uin knew, with someone who pathologically craved attention like him, he wouldn't stay silent for long. Jong-hoon's face was already red from the alcohol. He suddenly turned to another friend. "Hey Junhwan, what stock did you buy again?" "Ah, what was it called?" Junhwan scratched his head, confused. "Hold on," Jong-hoon growled. "You don't even remember what you invested in. When you do something, you should focus on it." He dragged Uin in to be sarcastic. "Or do you also want to be lucky and stumble into a big win like clueless Uin? Ha ha, just because you got lucky once you think you're something special, even treating everyone to celebrate." Uin paid no mind. He calmly analyzed in his head. Alcohol inhibits the prefrontal cortex, which controls reason. At the same time, it stimulates the limbic system, which governs emotions and instincts. In other words, alcohol impairs judgment and increases impulsive behavior. Everyone here is wearing a mask. But the drunkenness is shattering Oh Jong-hoon's mask, exposing his true self. Jong-hoon's eyes shifted to Junhwan, pointing to his bracelet. "What's that bracelet?" "Ah, this is a Hakuna Matata bracelet. They say it brings good luck." "Yeah, good luck." Jong-hoon burst into malicious laughter. "You think? A cheap bracelet like that can bring good luck? Luck only comes to those who are competent, you get it. Alcohol doesn't change people," Uin thought to himself. "It just removes their facade." Junhwan was flustered, unsure what to say. Uin silently opened half of his own invisible mask. He's probably always been like this. He thinks making fun of others will make him look cool, but he doesn't know that. He just walked right into my trap. Because Lee Harem is sitting right here, just as predicted. Harem smirked a dangerous smile. "Interesting. What's wrong with pursuing good luck?" She held up her perfectly manicured hand. "See this color? They say that if you dye your nails with balsam flowers, your first love will come true. I guess that must make me look stupid too, right? Today, Harem thinks the whole world must revolve around her. That's why she doesn't care what others think. Uin continued his analysis. Your name is Oh Jong-hoon, right? Harem asked in an indifferent tone. Let me ask you a question. Those fake brand clothes, watch, and shoes you're wearing, do they really make you feel better about yourself? Do you really think people will applaud your fragile ego just because of those things? How could Uin have predicted everything? Now it was Jong-hoon's turn to explode. What? Jong-hoon shot up, kicking his chair back and screaming in anger. He had no idea that invisible strings were already tied tightly around his limbs. Uin tilted his head back and downed his drink. Everything was going exactly as planned. In his hands now was the control bar, and the puppet dancing wildly. Before him was none other than Oh Jong-hoon. Meanwhile at home, Bomi was lying on her bed scrolling through her phone, a huge grin on her face. Her best friend's group chat was blowing up. Hey Bomi, when are you going to introduce us to your brother? Or maybe we can bring food over to your place. I want him to tutor me. I'll pay whatever it takes. Oh, tutoring, Bomi marveled. I bet he'd be really interested in that. She remembered the times her brother had explained things to her. Everything became strangely clear and easy to understand. Then she started to think about the experiences her brother had missed out on. A trip to the zoo, an afternoon playing in the ocean waves. He's someone who wants to try so many things. My brother has suffered so much. I hope no one bullies him anymore. A terrible scenario played out in her head. A group of bullies cornering Uin. Hand over your homework. Give me your meal ticket. Bomi's eyes widened. She sat bolt upright in indignation, punching her poor pillow repeatedly. If that ever happens, she thought furiously. No matter who they are, I will never forgive them. How dare they do that to my brother? The soft thuds, so loud that her mom had to call in. Bomi, is everything okay? The noisy atmosphere suddenly quieted down when Harim's ice-cold voice cut through, sharp and direct. I'm curious too, she said, her eyes locked onto Oh Dong-hun, whose face was flushed from the alcohol. I'll ask you a question. That pile of knockoffs you're wearing, do you wear them believing that they can prop up your cheap pride? Huh? What? Dong-hun roared, his smugness turning to rage. Uin observed silently. When the prey that Harem despised started to bristle, she would only despise it more. She found them pathetic. Knockoffs, Dong-hun yelled, trying to use his volume to mask his embarrassment. But Harem was unfazed. She calmly crossed her arms, a smirk playing on her lips. What's this? A kindergartner, showing off his cheap candy. You're ridiculous. How dare you judge me when we've just met? Dong-hun stammered. I know very well, Harem asserted. My sister is a total brand slave. Unable to confront her directly, Dong-hun cowardly turned his attack on Uin. Hey, Uin! Who the hell does she think she is? Harem frowned. She stood up, opened her handbag, her voice full of boredom. So childish. Do you get a kick out of making fun of others for everyone's entertainment? You're the one who came here and ruined the mood. Dong-hun screamed, completely losing control. What gives you the right to say my stuff is fake? Slam. Harem slammed 2 large denomination checks onto the table, cutting Dong-hun off. He glanced down, his eyes wide with shock. You ruined the atmosphere with your mouth, Harem said nonchalantly, a contemptuous smile clear on her face. If I ruined it, then I'll pay for it. Happy now? You look like you're in desperate need of money. With that, she glanced at Uin. Uin, I'm leaving first. Can't stand to stay any longer. She walked away confidently, leaving behind a dead silence and stunned gazes. As soon as she left, Dong-hun started yelling again. Uin, what's with that chick? That was hilarious. She's the daughter of the SH Group chairman, Uin revealed coolly. The air seemed to freeze. That mega-huge corporation. Yep. After a second of silence, Dong-hun roared in disbelief. The daughter of the SH Group chairman. Uin replied concisely. The group began to whisper. How do you know someone like that? No wonder she had such an aura. Suspicious glances started to fall on Dong-hun. She said his stuff is fake. I was wondering how he could afford designer clothes but not a car. Maybe the stock thing was a lie too. And Uin just casually enjoyed his food, thinking to himself, this is how Oh Dong-hun's true nature and character are laid bare. Read like an open book. The more he thought about it, the more furious he got. Dong-hun shot up, his voice strained. I'm stepping out for a bit. He stormed out, having lost his mind, screaming, Stop! What did you just say? He chased after Harem, shouting insults. So you're the SH Group chairman's daughter, big deal. Harem merely glanced at him, her voice dripping with contempt. Who I am is none of your business. You reek. Is your cologne a fake too? You! Dong-hun's face turned purple with rage, but just as he was about to lunge, a tall bodyguard stepped in front of Harem, his voice deep and threatening. Who are you, young man? Dong-hun immediately backed down, explaining frantically, no, it's not what you think. The next morning at the school library, Uin placed 3 thick research files on the table. You found all of this by yourself? Mina asked in awe. How are we supposed to have time to read all this? Here, this is how I do it, Yuen said calmly. He immediately flipped through the stack of documents. His eyes scanned the pages at an extraordinary speed, his head swiveling like a machine. Every second, the entire knowledge of a page was scanned and stored in his brain. His groupmates could only gape in horror, exclaiming, What was that? Did you really read all of it? When he was done, Yuen stood up. Just use these as reference materials. I'll summarize and extract the necessary parts. I'm going to the restroom for a bit. As Yuen walked out of the library, he happened to run into Dong-hun. Oh, hello. Yuen initiated the conversation. Are you here for your group project? Dong-hun scratched the back of his neck, replying awkwardly. Yeah. You too. Yeah, my group is in there. Yuen gestured inside. Come on in. Huh. Dong-hun was startled. The embarrassing memories from the previous night came flooding back. Knockoffs. You think people will praise your fragile ego? How dare you judge me when we've just met? Oh my God. So childish. He immediately avoided Wynn's gaze, stammering awkwardly, No, I just left my laptop in the classroom. With that, he turned and fled as if being chased by a ghost, and Wynn just watched him silently. From now on, Dong-hun won't try to pick a fight with me anymore. Good, I've restored a piece of my normal life. This is a very natural reaction. The problem is solved. Just then, two students walked by chatting with each other. What should we eat tonight? How about jjajangmyeon? The two words jjajangmyeon immediately triggered Ewan's imagination. An image of glistening noodles covered in a rich dark sauce appeared, making him crave it so much he had to swallow. He suddenly remembered Detective Tae-yun's promise. You want to eat jjajangmyeon at the police station, sure. I'll order sweet and sour pork too. At the police station, Tae-yun took a long drag from his cigarette. John, what case is it this time? John, his colleague, asked tiredly. Should we eat something before we go? Tae-yun set his sharp eyes scanning John. Pale face, gloomy expression. Your blind date didn't go well, did it? You got rejected, right? John burst out laughing. Are you trying to be Ewan wrong? A sparrow trying to imitate a hawk will break its wings. My friend. Tae-yun mumbled, It's the hawk imitating the sparrow, you idiot. The two of them had just stepped inside, when less than a second later they came running back out. So many horrific cases in our district lately. Tae-yun frowned, starting the car. Did some new Grim Reaper just move in? He roared in frustration. Those bastards! I'll tear them apart one by one and throw them all in jail. Two police cars sped off under the gray sky. At the crime scene, an ordinary house, but the air was thick with the smell of death. Tae-yun and John went straight to the rooftop. Hey, Chief, Tae-yun said. Why are you taking so many pictures? The forensic officer pointed to a styrofoam box. It's better if you don't ask. The moment Tae-yun glanced inside his eyes, immediately bulged his chest, feeling like it was being squeezed. He roared in fury, What kind of sick bastard? Inside the box were dismembered human body parts, a bloody mess of flesh. Identity! Tae-yun tried to suppress his nausea, his voice cracking. Park Dong-hyuk, 21 years old. The homeowner's son. The two of them went down to the living room. Seeing the victim's parents, Tae-yun's heart grew heavy. This was always the hardest part. The best way to comfort them now was to catch the killer, as soon as possible. I'm so sorry for your loss, he began. I know this is very difficult, but I need to ask you two a few questions. Immediately, the father lunged forward and grabbed Tae-yun's shoulder, screaming desperately. Detective, please catch that bastard. Tae-yun held on to him, trying to calm him down. He looked over at his mother. She was sitting stunned on the floor, her red-rimmed eyes lifeless. She's about to pass out. Where are the paramedics? He yelled. Amidst the chaos of ambulance sirens and people shouting, Tae-yun turned to the forensics team. Any new leads? Nothing significant yet, a tired forensic officer replied, pulling down his mask. I've never seen anyone this twisted. Looking at the M.O. This definitely isn't his first time. Tae-yun's brow furrowed tightly. He mumbled dismemberment and disposal. We need to check all the cameras. In this area immediately. Just then his phone vibrated. The name Jin, when on the screen, was like a shot of adrenaline. His spirits immediately lifted. What does the kid want to eat this time? Beef, seafood, I'll get him anything. After class, Ewan was walking out of the school gate while on the phone. Hello, detective? Oh, Ewan, what's up? You're calling me first. Tae-yun's voice on the other end was full of surprise. It's almost dinner time. Have you eaten yet? Ewan asked. Meanwhile, his friends, Minamansu and Jonu, were whining tiredly behind him. I'm so beat from working on the project today. My hand is so sore I've probably lost my fingerprints. Let's get a cab. I can't walk another step. Not yet, Tae-yun replied. Looks like I won't be able to have dinner tonight. Are you at a crime scene? Ewan guessed immediately. Yeah, it's just that this scene is a bit, Can I go there? Ewan suggested immediately. Maybe I can help a little. As if waiting for just that, Tae-yun grinned from ear to ear, his volume skyrocketing to an eardrum-shattering level. Awesome, I'd love it if you came. His shouting not only made Ewan startle and pull the phone away from his ear, but also made his entire group of friends stumble. Whose voice is that loud? Tae-eun, completely unaware, continued to boom. Of course you can help a lot. Our Ewan has top-tier criminal profiling skills. So much so that, a police officer standing nearby had to clear his throat as a reminder. Sorry, Tae-eun said awkwardly, then lowered his voice and asked, But Ewan, can you handle it? This case is very brutal, dismemberment. I'm fine, Ewan replied concisely. Even though I really want you to come. Tae-eun asked again worriedly. Really all right? Then come on over. After we're done, let's go get some beef again. No, Sir, Ewan refused. According to the law of diminishing marginal utility, we should eat a variety of foods, no matter how delicious a dish is. If you eat it often, it becomes boring. Conversely, eating it occasionally makes it taste much better. The law of diminishing what now? Yes, therefore, Win continued. Today, we will be eating jjajangmyeon and sweet and sour pork at the station. Jjajangmyeon, Tae-eun thought helplessly. Are you saying you're coming all the way to a horrific murder scene just to eat jjajangmyeon? Just then, John approached. Captain, is Ewan coming? Should I go pick him up? Yes, Get him over here right now. Before he changes the menu. Tae-eun covered the phone and ordered hastily. The menu, sir. Tae-eun didn't explain and continued speaking to Ewan. John will come pick you up. No need, sir. I can get there myself. Just send me the address. When Ewan arrived at the residential complex, the sun was beginning to set. He saw John waving from a distance. When was it hard to find this place? I told you I'd pick you up, John said cheerfully, and immediately received a sharp glare from Ewan. Because that's not normal, Ewan replied, being escorted by a police car, under everyone's watchful eyes, is really not normal. You coming here isn't normal in the first place, John retorted. The two of them chatted as they walked. Just leave your bag in the car. You really look like a student. Well, I am a student. That's right. Warm-up question, John asked with a smile. Guess what I had for lunch today? Beef intestine soup, Ewan guessed instantly. Whoa, how did you know? John was amazed. You didn't brush your teeth, did you? Inside the apartment, Ewan continuously observed the structure of the house, while John called Tae-eun. Senior Ewan is here. After a polite greeting, Ewan got straight to the point. Hello, sir. Where's the body? Why are you looking for the body first like the forensics team? Tae-eun was surprised. It's already been moved to the National Forensic Service. What about the first person to discover it? Did you take pictures of the scene? Of course. The discoverer was the victim's mother. The culprit hasn't been identified yet. Just then, an older police officer approached. Who's this? Never seen him before? This is the little brother I was just talking about, Win. Tae-eun introduced him with a smile. This is the kid, the criminal profiling expert. The officer looked at him, then turned to Tae-eun. But is it okay to let a civilian into a crime scene? Just for a moment, just a little peek. Tae-eun chuckled sheepishly. Please keep this a secret for me. The officer glared at him and mumbled. You brought the kid here just because he got lucky a few times. Watch out, you might get disciplined. Win, just ignore him, Tae-eun said awkwardly. Yes, it's fine. Ewan didn't mind at all. I think for a normal person, that kind of reaction is also normal. More importantly, show me the photos. Can you really look at them? Tae-eun asked cautiously again. Seriously, they look horrific. This is the first time I've ever seen a scene like this. Yes. But Ewan still held out his hand, his voice unusually calm. Yes, I'm fine. If you feel nauseous or dizzy, you have to tell me right away. Tae-eun was still not reassured. Okay, don't force yourself. Yes. As Ewan took the phone, Tae-eun was still leaning in, reminding him, just swipe to see more. Finally, Ewan gave the annoying detective a helpless glance before he could finally focus on the photo. Immediately, his eyes widened. The analysis process began. The body parts were hacked up. The cuts are not clean like with a bandsaw. High probability the weapon was some kind of handsaw. His mind seemed to enter its own world, where he stood before a table full of weapons, eliminating possibilities one by one. Suddenly, he was startled by a small evidence bag. What's this? That was found inside the body. We have to wait for analysis to know for sure. Looks like thread and fabric fibers, Ewan suddenly guessed. Fabric gloves are often used when handling meat. He knelt down to observe the styrofoam box containing the body. This box is too clean. An ice box. Tae-eun was surprised, but Ewan didn't answer. He continued to ask, does the victim's family usually lock the gate? Yes, that's why they were caught off guard. The killer knew the family's routine well. High probability it's an acquaintance. He frowned and pointed towards the wall. The killer climbed over the wall. That part of the wall is clean of dust as if it was just wiped. A virtual figure appeared in Ewan's mind. The degree of scratches and the wide area of wiped dust suggests he climbed over on his stomach. Therefore, his height is around 170. Motor skills are poorer than average. Age could be older than predicted. Who's inside the house? Ewan looked up and asked, "Only the father. The victim's mother was just taken to the hospital. Can I go inside and take a look?" Inside the living room, John was talking to the father. "Feel free to look around," Taeyun said quietly to Ewan. Ewan began to scan the room. His gaze stopped on the glass cabinet filled with trophies and medals. There's not a single photo of the whole family together. Only photos of this man holding trophies. High self-esteem. Can't escape the glory of the past. He continued to take note. Large-sized refrigerator, ceramic dining table dishwasher. At a glance, they seem well off. But there are many inconsistencies. Perhaps the business failed. Ewan suddenly walked up to the father and asked directly, "Does anyone hold a grudge against you? Are you a detective too?" The man looked confused, then angrily insisted, "No. I told you no." Behavior attempting to hypnotize others into believing him, but leaning back on the sofa, a defensive posture. "This is a freeze response. Please think carefully," Ewan prompted. "There must be someone. I've lived my whole life without ever harming anyone." The father mumbled, holding his head. Seeing that he seemed distraught, Ewan decided to launch a probing attack. "The butcher shop." The father froze. John and Taeyun simultaneously turned to look at Ewan with suspicion. "Which butcher shop? What did you just say?" The father leaned towards Ewan, asking urgently. Ewan carefully judged. "He's leaning towards me." A sign of wanting to hear more and interact. He just repeated those two words. "The butcher shop." This time, the father suddenly became agitated. A surge of rage caused him to smash the phone in his hand. "That bastard!" he roared. "Could it be that bastard? Lee Sung-bum?" Ewan said nothing, just observed silently. "This is just the beginning." The father leaned back on the sofa, his body trembling violently. He screamed agitatedly, his voice cracking with pain. "That bastard! Did he do this to my son?" Ewan calmly asked, his voice even and emotionless. "Who is Lee Sung-bum? Does he work at a butcher shop?" When the father nodded in confirmation, the gears in Ewan's brain began to turn wildly, piecing everything together. He continued to carefully observe the man's body language, covering his face, an emotional surge. Could be because the truth is too painful to face, or he's simply trying to hide something. A natural defense mechanism. "Last time," the father began after a long silence, "there was this guy who spread a rumor that my son assaulted his daughter." He paused, an image of Lee Sung-bum appearing in his mind. "He's the butcher. I'm sure this has something to do with him." His voice started to rise. "That's right. It all fits. We had an agreement. We settled it peacefully. That bastard, arrest him now. I swear I'll kill him." He shot up like a wounded animal, about to charge outside. An investigator rushed over to stop him. "Sir, please calm down." "Calm down. You think I can be calm right now? Arrest Lee Sung-bum now." Ewan silently stood up and walked out. He had all the information he needed. Taeyun quickly followed. Behind them, the sounds of shouting and pacifying still echoed. Once they were both out on the balcony, Taeyun asked curiously, "Hey, how did you know that guy works at a butcher shop? Do you have a sixth sense or something?" "It was obvious," Ewan replied, a little surprised. "Obvious how? Tell me." Ewan began to explain, his voice clear as if reading a report. The killer was bold enough to dispose of the body parts right in front of the victim's house. This recklessness shows that he is very meticulous and confident. He calculated the time when no one would be home. But Ewan paused. Someone that meticulous? Why would he intentionally leave behind evidence? Maybe he didn't notice the thread and fabric fibers. Taeyun interjected. Criminals sometimes act very organized, but sometimes they're sloppy. Just as you said, Ewan latched onto that argument. He is an organized individual, but he also has disorganized behaviors. He carefully observed the people living in this building. He knew the habits of the households well, most likely an acquaintance, even someone who socialized with them regularly. Based on the initial clues, I guessed the killer might be an older person, with slower reflexes. He shifted his attention to the cuts on the body. On the other hand, regarding the disorganized behavior, the cuts on the body look like they were made with a power saw, specialized for butcher shops. However, the cut surface is rougher. This indicates that the killer used a type of handsaw to mimic the cut of a power saw. He's deliberately staging the scene. But think about it, Ewan continued. What are the chances that someone so meticulous would accidentally leave behind thread and fabric fibers, especially someone who handles meat professionally like Lee Sung-bum? Their job requires them to spot and remove anything foreign from the meat. Hearing this, Taeyun started to see the problem. "You mean he intentionally used a saw similar to a butcher's, and intentionally left behind the thread and fabric fibers to frame someone else?" Exactly, Wynn nodded in confirmation. Furthermore, he used an ice chest to slow down decomposition. The purpose was to obscure the time of death. Everything seems to have been carefully calculated, but a few details are staged. He's only showing us what he wants us to see, like the handsaw and the fibers, which were placed in overly convenient locations. Whoa, I didn't even think of it that way. Detective Kim Tae-eun couldn't help but be impressed. That's normal, Ewan replied nonchalantly. People only see what they want to see, and believe what they want to believe. That's human nature. This is cool, he mumbled. Cool. Tae-eun was speechless. But on the outside, he couldn't help but praise him. To see it once and come to such an accurate conclusion, that's genius. Immediately, Ewan's face darkened. Or maybe not. Tae-eun quickly corrected himself. Just normal like me. Ewan looked satisfied again, and the detective breathed a sigh of relief. What a strange kid. The two quickly returned to the case. So, you mean, the real killer is intentionally framing the butcher Lee Sungbum? It seems so, Ewan nodded. And he planned it so that all the security cameras and black boxes would lead us straight to that butcher shop. But, Tae-eun mused, it's another misdirection, like the wig case before. It feels very similar yet somehow different. Can we see the cooler box again? Ewan suddenly requested. Tae-eun opened his phone. The image of the box appeared. Doesn't look like anything special, Tae-eun concluded. Not a single scratch, completely new, Ewan added. Right, he probably bought it just for this case. Is there a problem? Ewan didn't answer, instead moving on to another question. After the box was discovered, how was it moved? The forensics team probably handled it. I saw they had a hard time carrying it away. A new question arose. Then how did the killer alone carry such a big and heavy box into the victim's house? Maybe he climbed the wall first and then opened the gate. Tae-eun replied reflexively, then suddenly stopped. Wait, you're right. That thing is so heavy, it would have at least left some scratches on the wall. They both fell silent. How could he have moved that box so cleanly? What motive would make someone kill a young man, and then create a complex scene to frame someone else? Just then a police officer ran up to report Detective Kim. The security camera near the convenience store caught a suspicious vehicle. A man dressed as a delivery driver quickly went in and then disappeared. It's just a misdirection, Ewan stated immediately. Lee Sungbum's alibi is definitely perfect. Track that car now, Tae-eun ordered. When the other officer left, Tae-eun turned to Ewan and asked seriously, Ewan, if it's not Sungbum, can you identify the real killer? I can, Ewan replied without a hint of hesitation. Really? Who is it? Tae-eun asked excitedly. It's someone who dislikes Sungbum, or someone who hates the victim Park Dong-hyuk. Ewan turned to look back at the house. And that person's identity will be revealed by the father himself, the one who is mourning his son. When Win and Tae-eun returned to the living room, the father was again in a rage with the investigators. Let me go. Oh, sir, please sit down. At that moment, a small detail caught Ewan's attention. The father's leg was swollen. While the man was yelling, I need some water. Get me some water. Ewan was still observing carefully. Slightly yellowed eyes, dry lips, constantly swallowing saliva. Looks like he's genuinely thirsty. Oh, right, here you go, sir. An officer handed him one. He starts with a glass of water. Everything seems very normal, but in Ewan's head, the pieces are starting to fall into place. As Mr. Park stumbles toward the glass muttering, it's just water, don't make a fuss, Ewan suddenly reaches out and grabs his wrist firmly. While the father is still stunned, Ewan begins his diagnosis, his voice cold and precise. Your hands are very cold. You've been going to the bathroom more often lately, haven't you? Unsteady gait and slightly swollen fingertips. It looks like normal thirst, but it's not. These are symptoms of diabetic complications, a serious kidney problem. How did you know? Mr. Park stammered in astonishment. Drinking water now could weaken your kidneys even further. Ewan warned. What? Mr. Park suddenly became angry and shook Ewan's hand off. Who gives a damn about that right now? Just catch that bastard. Ewan abruptly changed the subject. It seems your business was once very successful, but has recently run into a lot of trouble. That statement was like adding fuel to the fire. What did you say? Are you mocking me? He growled. What's so strange about failing in business? What does that have to do with anything right now? Standing behind them, Tae-eun also broke into a cold sweat. Hey, Ewan, he whispered. Can't you be a little more tactful? You're about to get me fired. But Ewan completely ignored him. He continued his ruthless analysis with the father. Your son had a bruise on his head. He died from being struck by a blunt object with a sharp edge. Then his body was dismembered. He paused, then continued, his voice filled with doubt. Normally, if there isn't a deep-seated grudge between the two parties, cases with this level of brutality are very rare. That's why I asked about your business. Could a butcher really hold that much of a grudge? Seemingly oblivious to the stunned look on Mr. Park's face, Ewan continued. Even when his daughter was attacked, he still chose to settle things peacefully. Could a person like that really be so vicious? And then deliberately leave such a horrific scene for you to find, could he really hate you that much? Ewan's words also planted seeds of doubt in the other investigators' minds. That's right, most fathers would never agree to a settlement. They'd want to throw him in jail. Exactly, Ewan said. We have to consider all possibilities. It's very possible that the real killer has a personal vendetta against you. A grudge I've never heard anyone, Mr. Park insisted. Think carefully. Ewan's voice was stern, his eyes fixed on him. We don't have much time. Someone hates me. Besides Lee Sung-byom, who else could it be? Mr. Park muttered in confusion. The clock on the wall kept ticking. 6:40. Time is running out, Ewan thought tensely. Think carefully. He repeated, his voice dropping lower. Wait a minute, he said, slowly recalling. Now that I think about it, about 4 years ago. Just then, Ewan's eyes were drawn to a box of business cards on the table. He quickly pulled out his phone and looked up the company name on it. The world is so convenient now. Anyone can easily find out what others are doing. As the search results appeared on his phone screen, the father's deep, gruff voice also rang out, admitting a bitter truth. 4 years ago, there was a similar incident with that kid Jong-hyuk. So he has a history of sexual assault, Ewan thought. He also shrewdly noticed the change in address. My son, an affectionate term. That kid Jong-hyuk, a term that creates psychological distance, an unconscious reaction to separate himself from his son's actions. Did the other party claim they were sexually assaulted? Ewan asked. Yes, he admitted. Then he added grimly, that was also when my thriving business started to collapse. Who was it? Ewan asked calmly, as if they were discussing the weather. It was the daughter of a former employee, Mr. Park answered quickly. Did you settle with them? Ewan dug deeper. At this, he seemed a bit annoyed. I even promised to promote him. Kids make mistakes, right? I even gave them a pile of money. I thought that would be enough. He almost roared. But somehow, those trashy reporters found out. His daughter committed suicide because of those articles. They're the ones who killed her. Ewan watched him in silence. But in his mind, a malevolent light bulb was staring intently at this man. Should I guess who really killed that girl? Thinking back, he continued, maybe he did this to get revenge on me. Ewan immediately noticed the anomaly. This, an overly mild way of putting it. It would make more sense if he used words like atrocious act or horrific crime. Do you remember that employee's name? Or his daughter's name? No, it was 4 years ago. I don't remember clearly. I see, Ewan concluded softly. But his gaze lingered on the trophy-filled shelf. High self-esteem. Always invests in himself even when finances are tight. He suddenly changed the subject. You like to go for walks, don't you? Yes, I walk around the neighborhood every day to stay healthy. But what does that have to do with anything? It's relevant. Ewan cut in. You've been living here for a year. While on your walks, have you seen anyone suspicious? I don't think so. What about people who moved in the same year as you? No, I don't think so. At this point, Ewan began to lead him into a hypothesis of his own creation. So let's think about it this way. That former employee, the one whose name you don't remember, has been harboring a grudge and planning his revenge. He used the butcher as a scapegoat, setting everything up to make him look like the real killer. Mr. Park was immediately drawn in, harboring a grudge since his daughter died. And planning this until now, he gritted his teeth. That bastard. Just as he sank into his resentment, Ewan coldly shattered the hypothesis. No, but I'm ruling the former employee out as a suspect. What ruled out? Why? The culprit has to know this neighborhood like the back of his hand, Ewan explained. That requires him to live here, or frequently stake it out. And yet he never ran into you, a person who walks every day. You said you haven't seen anyone suspicious, and that no one new has moved in. Even if the culprit conceals his identity, human instinct will still sense a threat. That's how the limbic system works. Based on that, if the killer was the former employee, you would have surely recognized him. I don't think I saw anyone. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, Mr. Park stammered defensively. Ring, ring. Tae-yoon's phone rang. We found the car. It's a stolen vehicle abandoned near the butcher shop. Really quickly confirm. The butcher's alibi. As Tae-yoon hung up, he met Ewan's gaze staring at him. Are you a robot? You've never been wrong, Mr. Park hurriedly asked. Did they catch Lee Sung-byom? But at least they found him, Tae-yoon reassured. At this moment, Ewan's attention was focused on the disarranged objects on the table, a sign of hastily checking if anything was missing. But fundamentally, they are just sensitive people. A scene played out in his mind. The father stumbling out from another room, accidentally bumping into the shelf, causing the trophies to fall to the ground. All the pieces were starting to fall into place. And Ewan could clearly see the awkwardness in his every gesture. He was trying to put everything back to normal. But nothing was normal. This is why being normal is so difficult. Excuse me, sir, Ewan said, his tone turning serious. You want to catch the killer quickly, right? Then you have to answer all of my questions. Ask away, the father agreed immediately. Anything. Do you clean the dining table every day? Ewan began with a seemingly unrelated question. Yes, after meals, my wife, he answered instinctively, then suddenly stopped. Wait a minute. What are you trying to say? Jong-hyuk is dead. What the hell does this matter? Uin didn't answer. He just coldly listed the bare facts. You have diabetes, and the troubles your son caused are its complications. Your business collapsed. You used to be very healthy, enjoyed playing golf, but from then until now, you've lost a significant amount of weight and your physical strength has declined. Isn't that right? Hearing this, not only Mr. Park but also Tae-yoon was bewildered. What is this kid trying to do? Tae-yoon suddenly remembered Uin's speculations about the killer. Around 170 tall. Diminished physical condition. Could be an older person. A jolt ran down his spine. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an actor? Uin abruptly changed the subject. That question was like a spark to a powder keg. What? What kind of stupid question is that? Are you even a cop? He roared. Yes, Uin affirmed confidently, stunning the father. He turned to another investigator. Hey, what the hell is wrong with this kid? Uin turned to Tae-yoon and asked casually, Detective, can I borrow some luminol? Why all of a sudden, we're out of time. All right, wait a sec. Tae-yoon rushed off, borrowing a spray bottle from the crime scene unit. A quick heads up, Uin flicked off the lights. The room plunged into darkness. What are you doing? Mr. Park yelled, startled. Before everyone's eyes, Uin calmly sprayed the luminol solution on the tabletop. Mr. Park's face immediately went pale. The liquid seeped in, drop by drop, and then an eerie blue fluorescent light gradually became visible. Huh, what's that? Why is it here? Tae-yoon and the captain were astonished. In one corner of the table, a very large and clear glowing patch appeared. But Uin kept staring at Mr. Park's frozen face. It seems this is your son's blood, isn't it? No, that's not right. It's a misunderstanding, he protested frantically. But then he admitted it. Yes, that's Jong-hyuk's blood. We had an argument before he died. I just accidentally pushed him. Look, the blood is only in one spot. If it wasn't an accident, the blood would have splattered everywhere. To prove his point, he even challenged, check the floor. There's not a single drop of blood. 99% truth, 1% lie. Uin realized. He agreed. Of course there isn't. He turned and walked toward the trophy display case. As you said, the wound wasn't serious. But the problem is what happened after. What the hell are you talking about? Mr. Park roared. Uin picked up a golf trophy. The moment he saw it, Tae-yoon began to understand with dawning horror. Uin, that thing, don't tell me. Small scratches are visible. Uin nodded. But the upper left part is suspiciously polished. That's not true. Mr. Park's whole body trembled. He screamed like a wounded animal. Of course it's polished. Do you have any idea what I went through to get that? The least I can do is wipe it down. Before he could finish, Uin sprayed the luminol solution on the trophy. Under the eerie blue light, hidden traces of blood appeared, telling a silent and terrifying story. Wait, what are you doing? Mr. Park screamed. What are you doing with someone else's trophy? But Uin paid him no mind. He held up the trophy, letting the fluorescent light illuminate its shiny surface. And on it, reflected the trembling, fear-contorted face of Mr. Park. Why? In Uin's mind, the crime scene began to reconstruct itself vividly. It's this same living room, but covered in white plastic sheeting. The door opens. Park Jong-hyuk walks in surprised. What's all this? From another room, his father, Mr. Park, emerges. Dad, you're home, he asks coldly. Dad, what is this? Why is there plastic everywhere? Mr. Park doesn't answer. He walks in, stumbling on the slippery plastic sheeting, and bumps into the trophy case. Oh damn, Dad, are you okay? Jong-hyuk runs over worriedly to help him. You have to be more careful. I'm fine, Mr. Park replies curtly. But what's all this for? Jong-hyuk asks while helping his father rearrange the trophies. Is Mom making kimchi again? Aren't you supposed to be on the night shift? No, it's time for you to become a good son. A good son, he says casually, picking up the heaviest trophy. And Jong-hyuk still doesn't realize the danger. But I have plans. I was going to hang out with my friends tonight. Whack. The trophy in Mr. Park's hand has slammed into his head. Jong-hyuk falls to the side, looking at his father in horror. Dad! But Mr. Park is completely blinded by rage. He roars, swinging the trophy again. Do you know how much? I've had to clean up after you. Wait, Dad. Jong-hyuk panics, pleading. Crack. Another heavy blow lands. A son like you, staining this family's name. Dad, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? From now on, you're going to be a good son. So this time I have to hit you. Dad, I'm sorry, don't do this. The plea seems to only add fuel to the fire. No, I don't need your apology. Park Jong-hyuk stumbles away, trying to escape. The scene before him blurs. He loses his balance, falls, and the back of his neck slams hard into the edge of the marble table. Crack. The sound of bone breaking echoes in the silent space. Back to the present. Uin is holding that very trophy in his hands. Most criminals would hide or dispose of the murder weapon, he says in a monotone. But you're the opposite. He felt a sense of weariness inside. He must think this trophy is worth more than his own son's life. A tragedy where narcissism triumphed over paternal love. Hey, look carefully. Mr. Park was still stubbornly denying it. What kind of father would kill and then dismember his own son? Yuen presented the answer right in front of him. The kind of person who had a very hard time cleaning up after his son's sexual assault cases. If you truly loved your son, your denial might have been a little more believable, but that's not the case. You never wanted to solve his problems from the start. You just saw him as a business risk that needed to be eliminated, Yuen added coldly, his eyes boring into the man opposite him. You ask what kind of parent would dismember their own child. The answer is a father who was afraid his unruly son would destroy everything he had built and decided to clean up the mess once and for all. The image of the father standing before his son's body appeared clearly. In Yuen's mind, his voice remained steady and cold like a judgment. There are parents who let their children starve to death. There are those who feel a sense of relief when they abuse their own child. The look in your eyes as you looked down at the body was filled only with coldness. Do you need me to give you more examples? The scene of him alone, silently dismembering his son appeared like a slow-motion film. What is this nonsense? Mr. Park roared, trying to cling to his last shred of denial. I reported the crime so you could catch the real killer. Why are you blaming me? No, I haven't blamed you at all, Yuen corrected coolly. I'm just curious when you started planning this. You surveyed this area very carefully before moving in. Didn't you choose a place with no security cameras? With routes that are hard to track to ensure you wouldn't be recorded. You're lying, Yuen unfazed asked directly. How much insurance money did you receive from the death of Park Jong-hyuk? It wasn't me, I told you it wasn't me. An investigator approached, his voice calm but firm. Sir, please calm down and come with us to the police station. Why me? He screamed, trying to deflect. You said it was Lee Sung-byum. That bastard is the one who came here and did this, Tae-yoon commanded in a low voice. June quickly moved forward with his colleagues to restrain him. I am informing you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. After Mr. Park was led away, Tae-yoon asked Yuen doubtfully if it's really the son's blood, then why were there no bloodstains on the floor? But he used a plastic tarp to cover the floor, Yuen answered nonchalantly. Blood will soak into wood, but it can't get through plastic. Same thing in the bathroom. But we still found traces of blood in the bathtub. Tae-yoon was still confused. So why did he have to climb the wall to stage it? Yuen explained. 1, to disrupt the investigation, and 2, to have a witness. He wanted to create the image of an intruder in the eyes of his neighbors. A witness's testimony is very difficult to analyze scientifically, and the reason he could transport the ice chest without leaving any scratches is because the body and the chest were already in the house from the beginning. I get it. Tae-yoon nodded, completely convinced, while Yuen was trying to remind himself to act like a normal person. The crime scene personnel walking by were curious, glancing at him. Who is that kid? I heard he's a psychological profiler. Suddenly, Yuen's gaze stopped. His reflection was on the face of the clock, on the wall which showed 7:20. He stared at it for a long time. Detective, he called, his voice a bit urgent. What is it? I think we have to go to the police station right now. Hurry up! Yuen suddenly yelled. Why, what's going on? Tae-yoon didn't understand. Let's go. Did we miss something? Yes, Yuen confirmed, his face full of urgency. It's very dangerous. What is it? Tell me. I'll explain on the way. There's not much time left. Once in the car, Yuen immediately took out his phone and started typing furiously. Turns out the kid was ordering jjajangmyeon before the restaurant closed, leaving Tae-yoon speechless. He turned to look at him with sparkling eyes and asked, Can I order sweet and sour pork too, Hyung? Of course, get the large size. I eat a lot. Tae-yoon replied, then wondered again. But aren't we going to catch an accomplice? Why order food so early? There's probably no accomplice. There's something even scarier, Yuen said while tapping on his phone. There's a Chinese restaurant across from your police station. Right. Yeah, what about it? I heard it's really famous. They stopped taking delivery orders at 7:30. How fast do they sell out? That they can close so early. I almost missed out on their delicious food. And it's a chance to eat at a police station, too. That's a truly unimaginably terrifying thing to miss. Ugh! Tae-yoon was too tired to argue. He thought it was some big case-breaking matter, but this kid was still only thinking about food. So you already paid. I should have treated you. What should I do? Don't worry, I pay on delivery. You can still pay for it. Oh, really? So did you order the spicy stir-fried chicken? That dish isn't normal. As expected, even though he's a foodie, he never orders anything abnormal. At the police station, to everyone's amazement, Yuen was demolishing the food at an incredible speed. Seeing him grab food non-stop, they couldn't help but comment, Did he not eat today? Watching him eat it looks like he's been starving since this morning. Where did all the sweet and sour pork go? I didn't even get to touch it yet. Just then the captain opened the door and walked in. "Captain, why are you here? I heard you guys caught the criminal." "Not a suspect, but the actual culprit." "Yes, that's right. Have some sweet and sour pork, sir." "You guys go ahead." "But who is this teenager?" "Don't tell me he's the criminal." "Well, I told you about him before. It's Yuen." The captain was startled. "This is Yuen. It's been a year, hasn't it?" "The boy who was imprisoned for 12 years. I really didn't recognize him." He turned to ask Yuen, "Yuen, are you doing okay? But why are you here today? Did you come to report another crime?" "No, sir. I just came to eat jjajangmyeon." Tae-yoon quickly explained, "It's like this, sir. On our way back to the station, we ran into each other by chance, so I invited him to stay for dinner before heading home. Our relationship isn't exactly normal, you know." "Right, Yuen." But before he could finish, Tae-yoon got a painful slap from the captain. "What were you guys thinking bringing a civilian to a crime scene?" After that, he turned to speak gently to Yuen again. "Is the jjajangmyeon good?" He answered honestly. "Yes, it is, jjajangmyeon. Eaten at a police station tastes freaking amazing. To have such a bomb restaurant near the station, I think the location of this police headquarters is truly god tier." After finishing his meal, he said to Tae-yoon, "Thank you for the meal, Hyung. I'll be going now." "Leaving already?" "Yes, sir, my mission is complete." "Uena, let me take you home." "No, it's okay." "It's fine, just get in the car." The captain was angry. "Hey, why are you taking him home? You still have a pile of work to do." "We'll be right back." Tae-yoon replied, but all his colleagues defended him. "We have a responsibility to take him home, sir." "It's the right thing to do." "What's this now? What's gotten into you guys today?" "Don't tell me Yuen paid for the noodles." "No way we'd do that, sir." Sometime later in a university class, Yuen's group was preparing for their presentation. Today was the test day. Mansu was so nervous he couldn't sleep. Why did it have to be my turn to present today? I've never lost at rock, paper, scissors before. However, he was the one who suggested it earlier. "Okay then, whoever loses has to present." "No takebacks," a female friend warned. Yuen answered confidently, "I'm going with rock." The two female friends decided to follow him. "I'll go with rock too." "Me too, rock." Then Yuen turned and asked Mansu, "What are you going to throw?" "Me, I'm going with paper." But actually, Mansu had lied. He then threw scissors and lost. Mansu didn't expect the other three to actually throw rock, as they had said. As a result, he was stuck with the presentation duty. Yuen only had one piece of advice for Mansu. Don't just look, observe. In the classroom, the two female friends were cheering for Mansu. "You can do it. You got this, we're counting on you." However, it didn't seem to have much effect as Mansu was still trembling. The professor stepped up to the podium and announced, "Let's begin with Group 1's presentation." Yuen listened attentively and silently evaluated. This presentation is graded on a curve, although there are still a few minor mistakes. It won't affect the grade. Group 1's presentation ended. Next up was Group 2. The presenter was Jong-hoon. "You got this, Jong-hoon, but don't worry," his teammate encouraged. "Just trust me." Jong-hoon confidently stepped up to the podium. "Now our group will begin our prepared presentation." Group 2 was very well prepared. Jong-hoon's presentation was quite smooth. However, when it came to the Q&A session, he ran right into Yuen. He asked a long series of questions about principles, problems, and solutions, leaving Jong-hoon with no idea what Yuen was even asking about anymore. Only the professor was laughing to himself. Finally, someone understands my pain. Finally, Group 2 finished their presentation, with Jong-hoon's face as black as soot. Of Jong-hoon. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give Bear a like. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.